piece of it.
Okay, have to call this meeting to order. Yeah, the gentleman's outside, he's on us, yep, he's got our back, yep. Okay, so we are going to call this meeting to order. Thank you all for coming this evening to see us. We're going to begin this evening. We're very honored, actually, to have Girl Scout Troop 419 cadets they are now. We've been working with these young ladies on a couple different projects and are always very excited when you come in to see us. So thank you, ladies. And we hope in, let's see, another 10, 12 years, you'll be on this side of the table, right? Yeah, okay. All right, anyway, they have reached out to us because they are working on a noise pollution journey. So I'm wondering if you want me to give any more details to the board members, or if one of you wanted to go to the podium and let us know what it is you're looking to do.
You all want to go up?
Yeah. You have to, oh, you know what, I'm sorry, Mr. Priori, that podium needs to stay right on the corner of that mat in order for the camera to be appropriate.
Which corner?
This corner closest to Bill. So the black chair, we can back it up, there you go.
There you go.
The cameras don't move, so, yes, okay, so, can you give us your name, please?
My name is Alexandra Schumacher.
Okay,
I'm Lauren Gabbard.
okay, okay.
Now they all come.
All right, yes, it's nice, you should all be on camera and get your names in there.
Careful, I'm not getting over it. All right.
Excellent, yeah. It's kind of tight quarters, I'm sorry, but we're very honored and happy to have you all here today. Okay, go ahead, Alexandra.
We are doing a noise pollution project, and we are doing it because we started a journey called Breathe, where we were focusing on noise pollution, and we need to do that to get our silver award. And we went out into Pussy's Pond, and we listened, and we found that a lot of the noise was coming from our troop and the cars. And the cars were also making noise. So since we were doing noise pollution, we decided that we wanted to make a sign to get the people aware of the noise and to try and get them to get quiet down a little, so it slows down, so the noise calms down, and the animals would be happier if that happened.
Right, you saw that the birds would fly away and things like that with a lot of noise. Yeah, could be detrimental to the little nests and things. Okay. Well, we're very fortunate this evening because the bottom of Pussy's Pond is indeed Trustees' jurisdiction, but the area around the pond is now a nature preserve, and we actually have the chairman of the Nature Preserve Committee here this evening as well. So he's out in the hallway, I believe. Maybe Mr. Cohen should come in and sit down and listen to this conversation, because depending upon where we want to put the sign and its size, etc., I would recommend that we get both of these, the trustees and the Nature Preserve, both in agreement of the sign. So, did you hear the start, Zach?
I did. It was very exciting.
Okay. Yes. So do you have a shape, size, language for your sign yet?
They all kind of made their own, but
Okay.
we weren't sure what the specifications were, how big we could make it, what it had to be made out of, so that's kind of why we need a little more guidance
Okay.
in that end of it,
Okay.
because they have some really cute ideas.
How about if you leave their ideas with the trustees and we'll review them, our education committee can review them and either pick one or pick pieces of them and put it together. We'll then, we send a representative up to the Nature Preserve Committee, and I will take it up to the next Nature Preserve Committee, which is when, Zach?
Second Thursday of July, 5:30.
Okay, would you like these young ladies to attend there as well?
That, we always are
Yes.
welcome, but it's up to them, but we can put them on the agenda. And
Okay.
then, hopefully from there, we'll send up a joint recommendation to the town board. And they could go before the town board with
Right.
joint recommendation
And you
of,
could always see it adopted at a town board meeting as well. So, I have no objections to the Girl Scout troop trying to alleviate some noise pollution at Pussy's Pond. Does anyone else?
Great idea.
I think it's a fabulous idea. And this will get you your silver award.
It'll start. It'll start.
Okay,
But
okay,
then we're
Journey
coming next,
yes.
is the silver, after they do
Yeah.
this, then
okay.
they'll each individually create their own silver.
Oh,
So you
okay.
got a lot
This
of
is the-
A lot of
potential-
projects coming
yeah.
up,
You need to
okay.
finish your journey to start yourself. So this
Okay,
is-
excellent, because we've seen you through your bronze, so, yes, excellent. All right, so with no objections, I would say we will accept into the record their recommendations or their suggestions for signs, and we'll let our education committee review. Okay, are you girls okay with that? Do you have any questions for us? No? Okay.
Thank you.
your last week of school.
Yeah.
Great job, ladies.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. One more thing, are you ladies gonna stay for the rest of the meeting, or are you gonna go?
I think
You gonna
we're gonna
go?
go. So,
Yeah,
you guys can have some space.
Yeah, you know what I
Yeah.
would say, just because it is so crowded and very noisy, as everybody steps out, they could just say their name, so that they're
Oh,
all on
that'd
the
be
record,
great.
and we're all being filmed, so you can see yourself on TV later. Okay? Okay, so one at a time, you can state your name and then, you know,
Lauren Gabbard.
Lauren Gabbard, okay,
Alexandra Schumacher.
okay.
Sarah Forrest.
Jacqueline Obanesian. Sienna Bowen. Mary McCann.
Caleb Lynch.
Caroline Brown.
Okay, excellent. And thank you, moms, as
Thank you
well.
very much.
for bringing your ladies
Great.
in.
Thank
Yeah, appreciate it very much.
I'm gonna, there's a couple here that are
Yes.
ready to go, but we sketched this really cute one.
I'll leave
It's
it.
like a little,
Laura's
Okay.
desk.
but it's
Okay,
in my notes.
thanks.
Do you want me to make it bigger?
No, whatever is good for you.
Cause I need the notes that are.
You could just take a
Okay.
picture and email it to them?
I'll do that.
Okay,
Alright, so I'll give
Okay.
you these.
all right.
Do you know where you're gonna
Yeah.
get the sign made? Like, do you have that all planned out?
Not yet, no. They just started, I mean, a little, I don't know if you have.
We've got places to go
From, how
Yeah,
big it needs
right.
to be, like all
Depend,
that.
we might be able to get some assistance from the town, like we did for some road end signs, or,
Okay.
you know, we'll see how it
And there,
goes.
they could make
Yeah.
all kinds of good
Yeah.
stuff.
There's
Yeah.
these, then I'll email the other.
All right, excellent, thank you very much. Okay, oh, this is fun. All right, so everyone else who was here, we can come over and sit in the chairs? Yep, and I would just remind everyone again, we are being filmed. The acoustics, you know, there's a lot of rubble in the background, it's a little disruptive. No joke telling in the corner here, the peanut gallery over here. And that as you address the board, if you could please step to the podium, because that's where we'll be able to get you on film. Okay, so we have a sign-in sheet, Bill, if I could interrupt you, if you could grab that. We'll start with that and see whom else from the public is here to see us this evening. Okay, so we saw the troop. Mr. Cohen, something specific for now?
I've had enough
Yes?
excitement for today.
Okay.
That's great.
Thank you very much, okay. We have a couple observers. Ms. Klopman, something specific?
Depends.
Okay. And more observers. Okay, so with that all being said, we're going to, is there anyone who didn't sign in? Yes?
This way, sorry.
Okay, we'll get you on there, okay. We will jump back to the beginning of our agenda. And, okay, so, oh, your name?
Claire Scott.
And did you want to come to the podium to speak on an issue?
Just here to observe.
Observe, okay. All right. Thank you all for coming to observe. All right, back to the top of the agenda. We start with our administrative. We have some bills to be paid.
Sure, we have a bill from Staples for $92.28. We also have a bill from Seacoast Enterprises. This is mostly for the pump out boat, number 1, Greenville Harbor pump out boat, totaling $1,472.08. That's for the repair. And we also, just for our board, we have photos of the pump.
Yep.
So I'll just pass those around to
Yeah.
look at. That is,
We expended funds for an extra pump in case one of the boats broke, so we have that available this year, so.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And then for a cover for the boat, we have a bill from West Marine, $649.99. So I make a motion, we pay the bills.
I'll second that.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed and carried.
We have a CD that is scheduled to renew on July 6th. The next renewal date for this won't be until January 6th of 2016. This is just one of the general CDs that we have. So I make a motion that we let this roll over.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed and carried.
We have the minutes of March 25th, 2015, April 28th of 2015, and May 12th of 2015. I've read the edited versions and I don't have any corrections, but does anyone else from the board have corrections?
I'm fine with my written.
So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 25th, April 28th, and May 12th.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed and carried. You want me to do that last one?
Sure.
Okay, John, this last one is another one of those form letters, I believe, that we got from the accounting firm that came in, and I had, did you get a chance to
I
review it?
did look at it, yeah, and that's,
Is it
it's a
very
standard.
standard? Okay, so
It's a retainer, it's a retainer.
Okay, so it's
in
okay
essence.
to just,
Sure.
print it out on our letterhead, sign it,
Absolutely.
send it, okay. Good, so we'll get that done, so the audit will be done. Okay, thank you, John.
We have another idea.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. Oh, nice, okay. All right, we will move down into old business. The first one being the Pipe and Plover 2015 management. I began the agenda last week, just wanted to let everyone know. We did have a meeting here last Monday morning with the supervisor, natural resources planning, harbor masters, and two of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife employees. And that was basically because of the fencing that's been put up down here at the end of Atlantic. The PVC piping with the string fencing is what they believe is like still inside the borders of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife property. And then inside that is fencing that's going to be electrified. So I just want to let everyone know that it's not hopefully harmful, but it would be startling, specifically for predators. It's a new management concept for predator control on piping plover areas. And it actually does go down and have a little footing under the sand so the fox can't dig under it. So that's what the fencing is, because it went up, it looked a little startling to a lot of people. That's what it is, and then we're moving forward with understanding what their management goals are, and to clarify exactly the boundaries of their property. They had forwarded me following that another document with something to follow, John, that I want to get to you. Okay, so that's how we started the week.
Excuse me?
Yes?
So how does the electrified fencing affect the plovers?
Well, they advised me that it shouldn't affect the plovers at all.
What if they were to touch
Well, they will.
Are you
Touch
not startled by it?
I would
like
think
the
they would be as
predators?
well,
when they
yeah,
do the broken wing?
yeah.
That
That, I'm not, I don't know, Deb, the details. So we can ask if you like.
Yeah, it
I-
kind
It
Sure,
of,
give
doesn't,
us
you
that
know, it
information
is,
right
it's
away.
something
as
they
a
said was.
federally endangered
Yeah.
species, putting an electrified fence around their nest would
What
seem
about the
to be
humming
a
from the
little...
wire? I know for a horse fence, electric fence, there's like the humming comes from it.
Right,
It might help them
Vibrations.
sleep.
Excuse me?
Yeah, help them sleep.
okay.
I don't know.
Well, I will ask if the fence, the electricity could inadvertently affect or harm the birds and or with any noise.
Or other
from it.
wildlife,
Yeah,
people,
other,
pets.
humans.
other
Or,
wildlife, yeah,
a
but
lot of-
basically, if,
Wandering kid.
Yeah,
if people are to go inside the string fenced area, today we were advised they are technically trespassing. So if you are trespassing and are startled or hurt in some fashion by the electric fence, I don't know legally where you stand with that, I don't know. But it is a predator control project that they are pursuing here in East Hampton.
Has this project been tried elsewhere?
Yes.
Are we not
There-
the
there
guinea
is-
pigs this time?
No, it has been tried somewhere else. It must have been somewhat successful, which is why they're trying it here.
Alright.
This particular area itself, though, has not been very successful consistently. And that's why they're gonna try that, because it is the predators that have been the major concern here.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
okay, and then following that, we did have some additional fencing that was installed on, down on Napeag off of Marine Boulevard at the end of last week, which took a lot of people by surprise. And the next day it was, some of it was relocated slightly to the east to allow for some public access on that stretch. And with all the controversy and concern over that, there was another meeting held today with the supervisor and natural resources, and Deb and Sean and I were there. CFAR, yes.
Marine Patrol.
And Marine Patrol, yeah. So, lot was discussed. You guys wanted to throw anything out there that you think is important?
I think hopefully a compromise was reached.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
But-
yeah.
Hopefully a line of communication was reached.
Yeah,
That has
Which-
not been present for
Yeah.
any of this.
so far,
Right,
yeah.
right,
So,
yeah. And that,
hopefully.
yeah, that was the problem actually, is that the maps and the information regarding where the nests were being found and where the fencing was going up, which we had asked for consistently throughout the spring, had not been provided, so we were clueless where any
I'd just
nest
like
sites
to
were.
say that's not totally factual.
It's not? Oh, well, what do you know that I don't?
I know that most of the things are sent to you in emails as attachments.
No, Bill, I never received any maps, no. You can check my emails.
Okay.
I did not receive any maps since early in the spring.
I think you have to ask for them, I haven't. I went on to look because the plovers are in my area.
Should
All
we
you
have
do
to ask, being,
No, you go
We should-
online, they're
Okay,
online.
excuse me, Rona, we don't speak from the audience, or interrupt the board. It's not appropriate, it's not
Well,
nice.
here's an example of the communication that didn't occur. When these fences went up, a simple 1-minute phone call to this office or an even shorter email could have been sent to say,
People panic.
heads up trustees, there's this going on. So we're not the last to know when the public starts getting all upset about not being able to access the beach, that we're clueless. I mean, that's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't have to be looking online every other day or whenever to see if something new has been installed on the beach by somebody. You should be told beforehand. It wasn't an emergency situation that had happened so
Right.
quickly that this office couldn't have been notified.
Couldn't
So,
have been notified, right, yeah.
I mean, and
Yeah.
it's a consistent,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
consistently not,
Yeah.
this office is consistently not being notified, so we're being contacted by the public and not
Right.
knowing how to respond, because we don't
Yeah.
know what's out there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem.
Another very disturbing, what's the word I want? This particular nest, when it was found, it didn't follow protocol, what we would want locally as protocol. The upland homeowners contacted first either the state or the federal government
they went
or
to the
another
federal
entity.
government.
Yeah, to say,
Federal
oh my
government.
gosh, there's plovers here and they're not being protected.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the federal government then contacted our local authorities, I think Natural Resources, and said, hey, what's up? Or maybe they contacted the state, who then, so anyway, it was not, the communication on all levels was not, following the line it should have, so. But anyway, there is a nest on the Napeag stretch, and I hope we have come to a compromise where there will still be some access available to the beach there. We will be notified when the nest hatches. It should hatch on or before July 4th. And the trustees will be notified so we can go down and assist with the installation of the fence. And then we hope to not only prohibit any vehicular access, but dogs and pedestrian as well, to ensure the safety of the nest. Yeah.
I heard you wanted signs put up to that effect.
Yes, we'd like additional signage put up.
Okay, could I just ask Mr. Courtney a question.
Okay.
This beach is the beach that's in litigation at the moment, right? And it's my understanding that the court has determined that the trustees don't have an ownership interest there.
No, no.
And
The
do you
court
think
has not
do you
determined
think
that.
it's wise for
The
the
court has
trustees?
not
The court has not determined that the trustees
The
have no
deed
ownership.
is determined.
No,
No,
No, the
that's,
court
in,
has not
that's in
determined
That's why it's
question.
going
who
to
owns
trial.
it, that's why
No,
we're
no,
going
wait,
to
the
trial.
court has not determined who owns it.
Yeah,
But the court has also determined that the trustees have sold the property in the 1890s.
well, there's
That's
always
questionable.
factual
That's
questions
the
that you
deed.
have to go through.
Okay.
That's questionable,
And
that's,
this is
that,
what the matter, this is
Under the
what litigation is
circumstances of
about.
the
though.
litigation and everything else, do you think it'd be wise for us to be putting no pedestrian signs up in that area?
Well, if the federal law doesn't want pedestrians worrying and
The
harassing the
federal law is
flooders,
silent on federal.
well, it's silent on cars as well, as far as I know. It says you shall not worry or harass the birds, and if people are walking there and disturbing the birds with their dogs and with their kids and with everybody else, then they are worrying, they're violating the federal law.
Yeah, but that's an individual act. I mean, us,
What seems to be,
Well, so is driving.
I mean,
a
we're, you know, that,
question.
so in this area, you want us to go way over the guidelines, you know. It
But
doesn't
what-
make,
yeah.
this area seems like a very sensitive area.
Right.
We wanna keep it open for trucks, and our obligation and what we should be trying for is to keep it open for trucks, forever. You know, forever and ever. We should be petitioning the town to condemn that property if there's a question of ownership. We also, it's my information that since this became a brouhaha, there's two federal law enforcement officials in town going to look over the whole Buoys situation. And, you know, I was involved in this years ago. We had all of these cases, we had all these meetings, we settled it. And it's the town and the trustees' responsibility to protect these birds. And it's a great thing to protect endangered species. We're right now in the midst of the 6th extinction, as they're saying. Now, and we set up all these plans designed to keep the maximum amount of beach open forever for driving.
for everybody.
For everybody, for everybody, for use for driving, pedestrian. We wanted, the reason we went through these guidelines above and beyond all of this stuff is we do more monitoring so we have to do less closure. And the one thing that would blow it up would be if something would have happened because somebody put a fence here and because people complained it was moved. It sets a bad precedent.
The beach is closed in the meantime, so we're not gaining, we're not
You
keeping the beach
see
open.
one take, and, you know, I still remember the federal marshals coming at me. But, you know, I think with everybody working together, we can, you know, but the object is to keep the most
Exactly.
beach open.
Exactly,
Yeah.
which is like you said, what we brought up today is the 1995 and 96 management plans, which were very specific to 50-meter radius around every nest to prohibit vehicular, pedestrian, and dogs from accessing. Can I finish?
Yeah.
What seems to be the problem here, like the discourse between you and John, is that the law as established in the Endangered Species Act, which is not to worry or harass the bird, versus the guidelines, which are not law, but are guidelines for their protection. We came up with a plan that minimized the amount of closures, space closures, because we could monitor more, and was acceptable through the guidelines. Those guidelines have now changed. In the early 1990s, mid-90s, when we were discussing this, there was no discussion of the foraging area, which is what now it used to be the nest, then it was a core nest area, now it's a foraging area. Foraging area is 1,000 meters.
Now, I mean, I have the legislation in front of me.
That's the law, or
This is
that's
wait,
suggestions?
let me just explain this. The federal guidelines are guidelines,
Right.
which are guidelines, and they specifically say, you know, failure to implement them does not of itself constitute a violation of the law. But what these are guidelines for is guidelines for how to enforce Section 9 of the Endangered Species Act, which is a law. And it's Section 9 of the Endangered Species Act that say, one of the things defines harm, as degradation that results in the killing or injury of wildlife by significantly impairing essential behavior patterns, including breeding, feeding, sheltering, and harassing. Now, foraging is just another word for feeding.
But isn't that saying if those are killed?
No, this is harm.
You say you started by saying killed.
Well, this is, 2 pages,
Oh.
okay? But the significant thing is this, the law that's being enforced is not the guidelines. The guidelines refer to the enforcement of Section 9 of the Endangered Species Act, so it's not just guidelines, it's guidelines on how to enforce a federal law.
I think that's where we were going today by not wanting to harass the birds, by changing their natural behavior, and we learned that people can play frisbee and volleyball and do all these activities
They can
within
have a
the
beach party from
foraging
their
area.
house.
Which we have
So
spoken
So we
to
try
for
to protect
several
the
years
birds
now.
by
Yeah.
not, and we're not trying to keep a certain group of people off, we're trying to keep all people off. So I mean, I think you started to say by we're trying to keep a certain group of people that we're in
I just
litigation
don't
with, that's not,
understand.
that's not.
How
I
one
think
group
of,
can be worse than another if that's what you're going for to protect the
but,
birds.
I mean, most of the guidelines that these things refer to are vehicular activities, which is what they want. Now,
Is that written?
I think it was at the last meeting where we discussed the fact that what's gonna happen if, if a piping plover sets a nest up in the middle of Truck Beach. And at the time, I think it was you, Mr. McCaffrey, said, we'll just send him to another spot like we did the last time it happened, when Letitia was there. And that's what happened.
I don't think I ever said that.
Well, I.
Send the bird or send
No, send
the
the
access
vehicles,
people?
no, change the,
Oh, okay.
I mean, not the birds, you can't move the birds, you can't do anything with the
No.
birds.
Basically though, let me correct for the record, once and for all. There is nothing in this town called Truck Beach. There is public beach.
There's, yeah,
Let's just get that
All-
clear,
all
because
beaches-
that's what taints every discussion regarding this topic.
I don't,
Okay.
no, I didn't mention Truck Beach.
Yes, you did,
I
you
know I
just said
didn't, I
it.
said
You did.
that, I said that these regulations refer to vehicular activity, not.
So basically, what I can assure you, Bill, is that all of the discussions regarding the federal laws, guidelines, our management plan were all discussed at length today. The fact that the trustees would like to see less areas with restrictions to all user groups rather than large areas that only restrict one user group is going to be reviewed further amongst me and the trustees and the Natural Resources Department. The supervisor seems to think it would be a great topic to do over the winter for next year. But I left the meeting with the understanding that this board would review the maps that we did receive last week and make recommendations and suggestions as to where some of the fencing that has been installed, because basically it's been installed at every access point to the beach. Not specifically for any footage for any particular nest site or anything, so it does need to be, we would like to review it in order to ensure that this one site is not gonna be separate and distinct, that our plan is gonna be consistent with each and every site. So if there is a spot where pedestrians should not be traversing inside, like the end of Louse Point, it shouldn't be in there.
The policy is the same every place. What's different every place is the specific geography of the beach. And, the accesses are there. They're not placed every 500 feet or something like that with a routine. And the nesting sites are picked by the birds, which makes it wildly unpredictable. And it's the guidelines that I believe Juliana uses is to try and leave as much beach open as possible while protecting the birds. And where the fence is going is really specific. What she tries to do is to leave all accesses open. So people can use the access, even if it's, they go down here and, you have to have room to, sometimes people like to go down in one spot and sit and look at the beach for a while, or you at least want to give them room to talk for a while and come back. But, where the fences go is basically a function of where the nest is and what the local accesses are. And,
Right.
those are the things that determine.
Right,
where it
but
is.
what we're just saying is that, like on the map there on the wall behind us, that's the ocean beach. If the nest is situate on the beach in front of one of those housing areas, why is it acceptable to allow all of those homeowners or the pedestrians to come down a walkway, through an access way, walkway, and go through the nesting area, when they're clueless. They come in, they might see a fence, there's a fence down there, there's a fence down there. If they're renting, they don't know what that is, they're walking right through the nesting area, and they're playing volleyball and frisbee and picnicking, and this is not conducive. This could be harming or harassing the birds. They don't know where the nest is. So that's why we're saying there needs to be something more done to protect them from upland developed areas. That's what we went through in the 90s.
So the goal of the Endangered Species Act, when these species get listed, the goal is to delist them. And if these birds are not being adequately protected, we're going to have this access issues ongoing. So we're trying to get these birds to a population level to delist them. Of course, you know
And
this.
actually, let's say for the record as well, I'm sorry to
No,
interrupt.
no, no.
Okay. There has only been one taking, allegedly by a vehicle in the history that I'm aware of.
Take means a death.
No,
A take means a death,
there was-
yeah.
The reason
Yeah.
they started this stuff was so, I guess out in the peak, in the way back, way back when, there was like supposedly 4 takings.
No.
And then there was only one, I mean,
Wow.
There's no record of this.
Okay, so
that's
They only have one
is that
reported.
prior to protection
And it's
measures,
not even
maybe?
proven that it was
Yeah, I
killed
think
by
that's
a
what
vehicle.
caused the protection measures to be implemented.
Okay,
Yeah, there were 4 takings, and then these guidelines were put into effect, and since that, I believe there's only been 1 in the village.
yeah. But let's say, the guidelines as established in the 95, that's quite a while ago. And it was, the 50 meter radius around the nest, the fencing protocols that were put in place, the monitoring, whatever, it was, we've been consistently, as a community, very good with our plover protection. We sometimes have met that 1.5 to 2.0 fledgling rate, little up, little down, mostly due to the fact that the little chicks are either, they're predated by fox, gulls, the nests are washed out due to weather, It has not been the human element that's caused most of the detriment to their success rate in East Hampton Town. This was initiated, like I said, 1995. Only last year did I hear about this 1,000 meter foraging area that we're gonna protect now. The numbers haven't changed significantly in these last 2 years. It's relatively the same, up or down a little bit each year. There's no more takings, there's no less, the predation. So whether we allow for guidelines that we put in place a long time ago, I don't think it's gonna harm, we're not doing any harm. We're not,
Obviously been successful.
It's been successful, yeah.
But the fencing, all of that stuff's been successful. And we want to keep it successful.
We do.
Why
Make
the
it
24 increase of
smaller.
a
Yeah, all of a
protected
sudden they
site?
close off
20
4,000 feet
times,
of,
yeah.
4,000 feet of beach.
The reason we had these meetings after those takings, the reason all this came up is because the federal government's reaction to those takings was to pretty much close the beaches. You see what they've done down here. You want to talk about federal overkill. I mean, wait till they come in and, their reaction at the time was, look, we're going to just close down all the beaches for half of June, July, and August till close the time. And the town came up, had these meetings, they came up with these guidelines, and what the town's position was at the time is, look, we'll do more monitoring. We'll keep track of these birds, and because we do that, we're not going to have to fence off as much property. And that's pretty much
That's
in
what
that
we've
way,
been
shape,
doing.
and form as we're going
But
along.
we didn't close off 1,000 meters.
Yeah.
You're fencing off more.
Yeah, yeah.
The bird down by the end of the Peak Lane has not picked its final, hasn't fledged, have they had eggs yet and stuff? I don't know.
I'm told they're due to hatch
They're
on
due
or
to
around
hatch.
July 4th, yeah.
Yeah, it's down near the
Yes.
Napeag State Park, I think. It's
Yeah.
300
Well, those have
Close
hatched, right?
west
No,
of
no.
Napeag
The
State.
easternmost ones
They've
have
laid the
hatched.
eggs.
I thought Juliana said today they hatched.
No,
No,
the
no,
ones
no.
closer to us are gonna hatch first and then.
Oh.
Right, so
Okay,
that's
I'm
the
sorry.
other part of the discussion today was that if, we start with some fencing on in the Napeag area and determine that based on monitoring and foraging and whatnot, and we can all come to agree that anything additional needs to be fenced or restricted to access. By the time that happens, the other birds that are closer up, maybe towards the South Florida area, will have not only hatched, but perhaps even fledged. So we can then just relocate for those who can't find a parking spot and want to access the beach with their vehicle or whatever, that there will be an alternative. So anyway, just as we've had here, this is a lot like the discussion we had today. It was about an hour and a half. You know, it's a very, very difficult and controversial topic in East Hampton Town. I think going forward, what would be interesting for us to learn is that it's not just what our town does in order to get this bird delisted. It's the New Jersey, New York area. And overall in the area, they have to meet this 2 point, the fledglings, and maintain it for 5 years, and then we can consider delisting it. But they want to see it maintained for a while. It would be interesting to find out within this area what other communities are doing with their management plans, if they're any more restrictive or less restrictive, or if they simply have allowed the federal or state governments to come in and do it, and just find out what's going on, just as
If we have-
and how their fledgling rate is doing based on who's monitoring,
Well,
who's
that's the
watching.
key, monitoring. If we have more monitoring, we
Right,
can have less space closed.
Right, which was
And
very
that's a
frustrating,
goal.
very frustrating for Juliana. Our monitor was that she had volunteers from the high school who offered to go and be trained to be
No, they were
monitors.
trained.
They were
They were
trained.
They were
trained.
trained, but
They
it wasn't
were
good
trained.
enough,
Yeah,
apparently.
once they,
I don't mean that
after,
negatively, but-
after they were trained,
Right.
then the state said,
You couldn't go in.
they can't go out all by themselves, they have to have an adult go with them. So all the volunteers that were willing and able to go out there, you know, teenagers, young adults, were now not gonna be that much use to her and her staff because they have to be accompanied by someone. So that was very frustrating. I thought that was not appropriate to make them aware of that after the fact, you know? So that's kind of
Again,
put the whole thing behind the eight
communication.
ball. Yeah, yeah. Communication, recurring theme,
Recurring
yeah, okay. Anyway, thank you for your input,
But
Bill.
perhaps
Yeah.
at this time it would be good to
Yeah.
reach out to the public to look forward to the spring training of plover monitors for
Yes.
next
For
season.
next
So we
season.
can have
Yeah.
increased monitors, volunteers is
monitors.
what they, and it's a easy training and,
Yeah,
not that it's
Yeah.
easy, but it's a good training and then we can have more monitoring and less closure of the beaches. I mean, that's
Exactly.
the goal.
Yeah,
And in
yeah.
addition to helping the birds by the monitoring.
Right.
so.
and additionally, you know, for now, for this season, like Bill said, we do not want to see a taking out there, whether, you know, especially if it's by anything related to the residents or visitors of our community, because it's just not gonna be helpful in any way. So while you're on the beach, just be very aware if you see the fencing and be very careful. There are like little ping pong balls and, you know. So, anyway.
And you know, maybe the public can voluntarily stay out of the plover areas to just help these birds, you know, be on their way.
Fledge, yeah,
The big thing
Yeah.
is the dogs, because the kite string
Dogs.
is a joke.
yeah,
I've seen dogs that weren't on leashes,
yeah,
and they just
Running
go up
wild.
and down,
Right
and,
through it.
yeah,
Mhm.
you know,
yeah.
sad,
Yeah.
you know. They get that far, and then fight out,
Yeah, well,
because
But
it's like,
we haven't had any, well, no, maybe there was a couple of dogs that did harass the birds, but it's
Yeah.
mostly the wild animals that are getting them, unfortunately, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Harassing again is not
Yeah.
you know, actual physical conduct, it's anything that changes their natural behavior. I mean, stress in itself
Yeah.
is not good for,
Right,
you know, for people or animals.
Yeah.
So I mean, imagine being chased by Fido
Fido.
when you're this big.
Okay, anybody have anything else to add to the plover issue this evening? Okay, we'll move on to the Hook Pond Water Quality Improvement Project report. I did see that the town board passed a resolution last week. They are gonna be contributing some monies toward a shared study with the village. It's $7,500, and it'll be a bathymetric survey of Hook Pond. And then in addition to that, the village is continuing to review and move forward on the grant applications for the water gardens, et cetera, so.
I went to
Yeah.
that meeting in the village.
That's right, thank you,
And,
yes, yep.
and they said they were gonna put Hook Pond on the back burner and concentrate on Town Pond, and something up on the gardener's property, which I really can't expound on, but,
Why?
huh?
Did they-
Only because I didn't really grasp what, the details were, but,
That
you
borders
know,
the
no,
pond, doesn't it?
Yes,
what's that?
The Gardner pond.
Yeah.
Was.
yes. Garden property, borders the Hook Pond,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So knowing that Town Pond is our domain, if you would, I had said that perhaps, and I couldn't speak for the board, but I could come back and, maybe we could help out a little bit financially with the study that needs to be done and all the paperwork and the grant writing, because we have a, vested interest, absolutely, thank you.
Yeah.
So that was,
Yeah. Okay,
the hour that I spent there.
So
thank you.
with
You're
Hook
welcome.
Pond, it's
Yeah.
being the,
Well, for right now, and I remember this specifically, they said that their focus was on Town Pond.
so the town board's committing funds, but the project is stopping?
No, the town board funds are going specifically for Hook Pond.
Hook pond.
Right.
So there must be other tributaries of this.
Which is not to say that they may
concept.
revisit it based on the monies that they get from the town, but at the meeting I went to, the focus was on Town Pond again and the gardener's property, and, yeah.
Would this be an appropriate time to discuss the algae thing?
Or do you wanna do pond?
Yeah, whatever you have on Hook Pond is fine, yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so we had a few questions. This is kind of bridging into water quality monitoring report. We had a couple questions from the public as well as from the village. We had a question about the site that we use for Hook Pond sampling. Currently, we, with Dr. Gobler and his lab, they are testing in the cove on the southwest corner at the end of Turtle Lane. And he does agree that a central location would be best in the pond. The reason we chose that initially was because of access. It's an access point that we can get to. So Diane said that there's a possibility that Maidstone Club might allow us to access the bridge toward the northern end of Hook Pond.
Yeah. Yeah, they said they'd be very willing to allow that.
So I'll bring that as a possibility for a second site or a change.
Or right here off this bend, highway behind the pond,
Yeah.
that's another alternative.
I think that originally we had looked at highway behind the pond and it was the thought was the same thing as the southwest corner. It's
Maybe
like
get out
that
in the
they're
middle more.
right.
Okay.
So
Okay.
and so I'll bring those as possibilities back to Stony Brook Lab. And then we also had a question, this is building off of our last meeting. I was asked to talk to Dr. Gobler as well as discuss about the macroalgal bloom, the seaweed bloom in Georgica right now. So the question was whether removing the seaweed would be a good thing to do and how to go forward if it was. So Dr. Gobler and I have been talking about this week, and removing it might be helpful, but there's some complications, and the complications could outweigh the benefits. So one of the complications is that it would clearly require DEC permittation, a permit in place for both the removal as well as the disposal. So once it was collected, this isn't something that you can just put in a compost pile in the backyard. So that's the first thing, and Dr. Gobler wanted to reiterate that it would only be effective for a short period and it likely grow back in a week or two. And then my addition to that is, and we don't know this is a hypothesis, but I worked on seaweed for a while, and one of the things that you often see when you remove is that you visibly can remove a lot of it, but you could actually be initiating the growth, and it could not only grow back quicker, but it could grow back stronger. So, and again, that's something you might not know until it actually starts. So I don't think, as far as our board, that this is something that we really should look at right at this time. We had some from the public. There was Ms. Priscilla Whittle. She saw something in Central Park and reached out to the trustees. So in Central Park, in one of the ponds, there was an area where they go through with a weed harvester and they can actually remove off of the surface. And so she contacted somebody from Central Park, New York City, which was, his name was Doug Blonsky, and Bruce Horowitz kind of coordinated this and forwarded the conversation to our board. And it is possible to do this, but again, we don't have that permit in place. We're working very hard to get a completely different permit in place with the DEC for the excavation of Georgica. I'm not saying that this is something that it couldn't be in the future, but I think without knowing that the benefits could outweigh the costs at this point, I don't necessarily know if it's something that, and the homeowners seem like they might be investigating, talking about, the person who makes this machinery, and if that's what they can, I'm encouraging them to continue that, but I think as of right now, I don't think this is something that we should be going out and.
People ask me about it, I said, you have to have a detailed plan.
Oh, yeah.
You have to know when you're gonna cut it, you have to know what it is, what's gonna happen when you cut it. They did a project here in Suffolk where they wound up spreading this stuff all over the place. They took a small problem and made it a big, some of these things grow from the rhizome. You get little cuttings and they drift away, and all of a sudden you got little patches, so.
Yeah, and so most of these, the two species I think we're talking about mostly, they don't have rhizome structures, but they're filamentous algae, and so it's very much, they can have asexual and sexual reproduction. So if you cut something, it could just grow up.
Right?
Yeah, it could get worse quick. So that was that update, and then I have more updates, but I'll wait unless we go after.
All right, but it's just Georgica, and then, because that's good with the hook pond. We'll see where it goes with the monies and their, see what projects maybe they pick for hook pond, what we could jump in on. Yeah, okay.
Just one quick thing, they were on the phone with
Pio Lombardo.
And at the time he was in California, and he had said it wouldn't surprise him if there's 5 to 6 feet of sediment in town pond.
Yeah.
When it comes to taking it out, so this has been going on, I imagine, for a long time.
Long time, yeah, very long
and it would
time.
be a costly project. But,
Yeah, very costly, yeah. It was a swamp?
Where is that? The whole Main Street was a swamp.
Okay.
At one time. Yeah. Well, it was swampy, it was the lowland.
Oh.
Of course it was. It was the lowland, that's where the village used to sit in the middle and bring their cattle. Did you ever read history?
Not that part, I'm sorry.
It's always been, I don't think town pond has ever been very deep,
Oh, okay, all right.
in all honesty. Because didn't they have a problem when they redid the bulkhead?
They tried to do
Yeah.
something there a while ago.
Yeah, they did, yeah, a while ago.
They passed a natural
Yeah.
line, and that's
They were
why
gonna
Yeah.
dredge it.
they filled it for so
It got
long.
to be
Yeah.
a lot more complicated than they thought it would be.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll see where the studying and the testing goes and what alternatives come up. Just for Georgica Pond, I just wanted to bring up, I did do a draft to respond to the Natural Resources Director, Kim, regarding the Georgica Pond application, the GEI, and I got 3 responses, and plus me, that's still only 4. So I need a majority approval to send this out, guys. So I'm hoping that someone took a look at it, and I didn't get anything, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Lexi. You don't mind, I read it.
I thought it
you're
read
good?
really well.
I'm good, I thought it was,
You got
I'm sorry.
4.
I thought I told you, I'm sorry.
Debbie?
Oh, you didn't?
No, I didn't, I thought
Well,
I
then
did.
that would be fine then.
Okay,
Sean's
okay,
with
sounds
it.
good, okay.
And I just had that one grammatical
Yep,
minor.
and I fixed, oh, that's right, yeah.
The
Debbie-
same one,
Yes,
Steph.
yeah, same one, yeah. Okay then, we will then forward that along to Natural
Thank
Resources,
you.
that's good. Okay, now
And
we
that's
can
for the
go,
dredging of the excavation of the shoal.
Yeah.
of the Shoreline
Right.
Georgica, yes, yep. Okay, now we can finish our water quality
Sure.
update,
Okay, so this is gonna be a little lengthy, but I'll explain why, and I apologize, but I think it is gonna be worth the public to get this information. So first, the update is I can report for another 2 weeks that all of our sites are doing pretty well. The cut did close in Georgica, And we have the monitor that's in that gives live readings back to the Stony Brook lab. So I just checked in right before I came to the meeting tonight. The salinity level is dropping, meaning that the pond's filling, fresh water is coming in. But the oxygen levels, dissolved oxygen, and the algae levels of now we're talking the microalgae levels, they're still okay in Georgica Pond. So that's good. We do have obviously the macroalgal bloom right now, but as far as the quality of the water that the bloom is occurring in right at this minute as of tonight, it's still doing okay. All of our other sites, everything is looking good. Dissolved oxygen remains high at all sites, and the bacteria and all the algae are remaining low as of right now. So that's good. Diane and I had a member from the public, Joan Priori, reach out to us, and this week, and I was in dialogue, and I think with Mrs. Priori, and I think that some of this should just, I want to have everybody know what some of the questions she was asking, and because they're good questions, and I also think just so that the public knows, we've been talking about this water quality. We're entering now, this is our third season that the trustees have funded this project, and it's developing as the seasons go on, but I think that a lot of the public, it might be the first time they're hearing about it, or it's a lot of questions are had. Just as there's the development of the funding, private funding that's going to be helping part of the expansion for the Georgica project. We had questions coming in from the public this week about how they could possibly, if at all, contribute funds to the rest of the trustee water quality testing. And I think that's an idea that's still in development, but but the questions that she had about how the project is stated now, I think are worth me reading the questions and also giving the answers. So one of the questions was which bodies of water in the town are tested and monitored. So all trustee waters, both fresh, the ponds, and marine, are tested. We have 17 sites total. Some of the harbors and ponds have more than one site within them, and that's because if you're in Aquaculture Harbor, we have several, 2 different locations, or 3 Mile Harbor. What is the water being tested, monitored for? Why is it important? So we're testing primarily for what we call harmful algal blooms. So the algae species that cause brown tides, red tides, and in the case of freshwater, green tides. We're also measuring dissolved oxygen. When you have low dissolved oxygen, you have things like the fish die-offs that we've heard so much about in the news for the past few weeks in the ponds. We're also doing temperature, salinity, coliform bacteria. There's a lot that goes into it, but that's the basics. So how many times per year is this testing, monitoring being done? It's bi-weekly, and it approximately starts in March or April. I say approximately because if we have a season where things warm up quicker, the testing begins a little bit sooner. So it starts in March or April, it goes all the way through November or thereabouts, again, if the season is longer. It began in 2013, we're now in our 3rd season. Another question was, what is the difference between testing and monitoring? And I just said, well, that really depends on the specific data being collected. Monitoring could be something that you're doing just visually. Testing would be something if you're actually doing a quantitative count on how many algal cells per volume of water is there. Another question was, are either of these required by the county, state, or federal government, or does the town do it on a voluntary basis? So I said, well, it's not actually the town. So far, it's really just been the trustees started this program because we believe it's important and vital to maintaining the health of our ecosystems. Also, when we consider some of these toxins that we're talking about, so there's some algal species that produce a toxin, specifically one our board's talked about a lot, is the PSP, the paralytic shellfish poisoning. That one is toxic and can be fatal when ingested as a human. So we see this as not just an ecosystem stability important quality testing, but it's also important for human health. And as of right now, all the testing that we started in 2013, none of this is required by this county, state, or federal government. We've been working very nicely in conjunction with them when we have any elevated levels, especially of the PSP or if the toxins of the microcyst in Georgica and the freshwater, it's been going very well that we notify them, they send out, and we can close areas to shell fishing, or we can also let the public know. So it's not required, but really, in our eyes, now that we've started this, I cannot imagine going backwards. Historically, another question, historically, what have the results of the testing and monitoring been? And so overall, the really positive news of this is that the health results show very good quality in trustee waters. We have documented these seasonal blooms and toxins, and they're localized to specific bodies of water at specific times in the season. Every year we hold a public forum, and it's taken the form of a talk, where it's usually in the winter, early spring, that summarizes the results from the prior season so that the public can understand what's going on. The past two of these were in 2014 and 2015, and they are always taped by LTV. So I suggested that if they were public informational talks that the trustees organized, Dr. Goldberg was the main speaker, I'd recommend contacting LTV if anybody's interested in getting copies of those. Another question she had, you see it was a busy week here for Diane and I. Another question was, are the problems getting worse? And I just said, well, with 2 years of data at this point, it's too general of a question to say, is it worse, is it better? Especially because we have so many bodies of water, but the great news is that we have something very unique that most places west of here, or really many that I've heard of with these harmful algal blooms, is that we're documenting in many situations the baseline. And so the fact that we have that, should more blooms occur, the frequencies start to increase, we have an area where then we can look back and hopefully come up with remediation. So this leads to another question: if unsatisfactory results are found, what is done about it, or what could be done? And I said, well, we're still in the data collection stage, but the overarching idea is to establish the baseline of these healthy ecosystems, and then move forward and see when specific blooms and events occur, to look at the drivers, specific sources that would be initiating these blooms. And specifically going to, we have 5 main objectives for the water quality testing this year, and the 5th one is to estimate sources of nitrogen loads to 3 Mile Harbor. And the reason we're doing 3 Mile Harbor is because that was one of the sites that had some harmful algal blooms last year. And so specifically trying to tag the nitrogen to look at nitrogen sources of whether it comes from wastewater, fertilizer, or the atmosphere. And then this will be the very first step that we're able to take from this data plan to come up with a management plan. So some people are wondering, like, what are you going to do with this? Why are you just sitting here? Well, unfortunately, fortunately, you have to have these years, and no year is isolated, so we're getting there. More questions she had. Would there be any benefit in testing or monitoring more often? We really think that every 2 weeks is best. We do have this great agreement with Stony Brook and Dr. Goldler, and his lab allows us with our contract to increase the sampling, monitoring during a bloom or any unusual event. So that's really fortunate for us. So if we were to, as we go into the season, if we were to get a brown tide or a red tide, cotyledonium bloom, we could increase the frequency daily if we needed to in one site, just because of that's going on. So that's kind of a really nice part of the program. What's the yearly cost? So for every year it's gone up slightly. The 2015 costs that this board has already paid in full are $39,178. How much do the trustees normally contribute towards this program? Since the beginning of the program in 2013, the trustees have paid for 100% of the cost of these past 3 seasons. Okay, so I gave her also just a little bit of additional information about this, and I know I'm speaking a lot, but I think it'll answer some of these questions. So the 2013-14 studies of East Hampton Town Trustee waterways found the water quality in most systems was very good. Still, some systems displayed seasonal water quality impairment due to harmful algal blooms and/or low oxygen conditions. Across most of our marine sites, more data was needed to fully assess the status of shellfish beds in regard to seasonal and permanent closures. That's also something that we're working towards on this water quality, is that if it comes back very positive, it could lead to more areas being open for shellfish, not just closed. So just as we were talking earlier, that if you have less monitors or less people able to go out into a system and see what's going on, you close larger areas. So with this, our hope in the future is that we could actually open more areas. This proposal then, this is what our board has approved for this 2015 testing, is to have all these trends and to assess the factors controlling the trends in water quality. So our 5 main objectives for this year: one is to assess the temporal and spatial dynamics of toxic cyanobacteria and cyanotoxins in Georgica and Hook Pond. So in layman's terms, those are the blue-green algae, the algae that are toxic, that we're worried about. We want to get that measured both over time and throughout the pond. So that's why we've increased the areas we're testing in the pond. We're also increasing the frequency. During months where there aren't those, we're not testing as much in Georgica, but we do during this time. Number 2 objective was to assess the temporal and spatial dynamics of the PSP causing dinoflagellate, Alexandrium, the DSP causing dinoflagellate, Dinophysis, and the dinoflagellate Cochleodinium in East Hampton marine waters. The first 2 are the ones being toxic to humans. Cochleodinium is the one that's the rust tide, that's toxic to fish, shellfish, but not humans. But again, part of our objective. The 3rd objective is for testing fecal coliform bacteria in marine waters. The 4th was to monitor 3 Mile Harbor with a focus on nutrient levels. So 3 Mile Harbor hosted significant harmful algal blooms and was the area that had the most what we call hypoxia in 2013-14. Hypoxia is when you get to a level of oxygen that's below a certain level critical for life. So that's, you would say, like what happened in Riverhead, that it reached that hypoxic state and those fish perished. We're doing this to try to find out the co-dynamics between the nutrients and the algal blooms. So we're going to do this within multiple sites within 3 Mile Harbor. And in the event that we have a harmful algal bloom reach high levels, we're also going to do cruises where the cruise goes and they actually they'll take increased sampling to measure the toxic levels in the system, and then they report that to our board within hours of getting that, hours to days of sampling. But the way they do that is they'll spot check any of the results, and if any of them come back positive, Diane and I are usually notified and we'll go right into closing, should it be if we sense any sense of human health issues. Second to last, is, you can see there's a lot that goes to this project, is that we're trying to estimate the sources of nitrogen loads to 3 Mile Harbor. So as I mentioned earlier, this is really the first step where we're really trying to work towards a management issue. So a lot of, it's very easy to point fingers and say it's coming from one source or another, but this will actually work towards documenting that so that the management plan can be in place in the future. And the last one is just an addition to what we're doing here, and we have been doing at our meetings repeatedly, is just sharing this information with the public. But the way that we're trying to do this, just to make sure that we can put our energy into making sure things on site are going well, we do this with a final presentation, as I mentioned, to the public that interprets the findings, and also make sure that we're following within local, state, federal guidelines. We're not in the business of, we're not trying to make monthly reports that are out for the public. And it's not because we're trying, this is all public information, and trust us, we want to do this for the public. It takes a lot of time and energy and cost to do those things. If we were to have weekly printed reports for everybody, it would become a burden where the public wouldn't be able to afford this type of program. So our board agrees that this is a way we've been doing this. This is now, I'm proud to say, the 3rd year. We're clearly at a point where we're not just collecting data, but we're also moving toward a management. So I know that I've spoken more than I should have this evening, but the reason being because if one member of the public is having these great questions, I'm sure others are, and I think this will, at least now that when we're saying water quality, people know what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Good
very
job.
much, appreciate that, yeah. So I would just follow up with, if someone has a specific question though, certainly don't hesitate to reach out
Right.
and ask one of the trustees, particular waterway, something you saw, we can always follow up on that. But like Steph said, the bulk of the data, the reports will come out annually so that we can concentrate on just getting it done and acting quickly if we sense any public health and safety issues.
And those objectives that I read, those were formulated off of the results we saw from the first 2 years.
Right.
So the first 2 years really giving the drive. So those are almost like in addition to the 17 sites being tested every 2 weeks, and it's a very it's something that definitely it changes every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
If there's something that's needed in trustee waters in one section, we make sure we're addressing that issue. So in that sense, it does change.
So this is like really groundbreaking research, because this isn't happening elsewhere. I mean,
Right.
so people can look at us hopefully sooner than later and see what we've done in order to protect the public, and managing, what we do in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. Can the trustees close a body of water where testing shows, poor quality, or is that just a county function?
Oh, the count. I mean, for shellfishing
Yeah.
or for just use.
Shellfishing.
So we do that with the county.
Right,
So-
we can do it ourselves as well though. in
Yeah,
the
I believe
shellfish
it's
pool.
Temporary,
Right.
Yeah.
temporary
The
closure.
temporary closure
As a result
provided
of the
in
water
code.
test.
Temporary
It's in the
closure.
town code.
You can go, I think it's up
Yeah.
to 20 days.
21
before-
days, I think, and then you have to have a public hearing,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
can close it after.
But if it's an
Right.
emergency
Right.
situation, it
Emergency.
can close like that, and
Yeah.
then we get the details.
And that's what I think,
We did it with
it's
the
worked
crab.
very
We-
well
Yeah,
to
we
get.
did it with the crabs
Had a
last year.
resolution
Yeah.
yeah, the
every
county helped a lot with
3
Georgia
weeks or
Pond.
whatever.
Yeah, the county's
Yeah.
been really great,
Yeah.
and like what's also is it's really is something where human health is possibly could be, in jeopardy. It's something that we get out in every forum we know how to, and so that's why it's been great to work with the county and get that, out there so that the public
Yeah.
hears about it. And we did radio announcements as well
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
The
2 years
last thing
ago.
I just want to mention, and I think it's worth repeating, Diane, can you give me those numbers last year that the pump outs pumped out in terms of gallons? I thought that was amazing. Wasn't it like 40,000 in month?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was what, Montauk and,
Montauk and Three Mile Harbor are the two bodies of water we have the pump out boat operations. It's a service, it's free of charge.
right.
Here you go, Jane.
Yep, oh,
But
thank you.
that was one of the concerns, right?
Yeah.
Stephanie, that you spoke about, one of the,
Yeah. Fecal coliforms.
yeah. I recognize the word.
Yeah. So in Lake Montauk, it was 52,400 gallons, and in Three Mile Harbor, it was 22,205 gallons. So this is a project that we implemented. Again, it's not, well, it's mandatory once we were designated a federal no discharge
It
zone.
was part of getting
Yeah.
it, we had to provide a certain amount of pump out facilities in order to be,
No discharge
to be
zone, yeah.
declared a no discharge zone.
Right,
And I guess at the time, the trustees took on the burden because the private marine is,
yeah,
And
it's
I
hard
think-
to make money
yeah.
doing a pump out.
Yeah, I think there's one municipal
Benefits of that.
facility in each
Yeah.
harbor,
Yeah.
and then there's the pump out boat operating, and then there's a few at your marinas.
And I think that another good point with that is obviously the pump out boats are a great asset, and people on boats, they have to do something with the waste, but they're a seasonal component, and there are many homes and businesses that operate around these bodies of water that flush into their sewers, and I mean, it's not their sewers,
Yeah.
their septic systems, year round. So that's also another source that it could be looked at. So I think that there's a lot, and I think that I hope that in the future, that this board really does look at projects like this to work toward getting a solution to
Yeah.
not just documenting, things that are going, but really to look toward, and I've always said this since the first day I sat on this board, is that we all need to be stewards of the land. It's like one of those exact situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, well, thank you very much
No problem.
for putting that all together. Appreciate it very much, yeah. Appreciate you all being so attentive too. That's good.
Like being in college.
Okay, we're gonna move down, move down into, new business now. So we have, spoken with our Girl Scout troop. The Shellfish Hatchery, I wanted to let everybody know that we have received their 2014 annual report, as well as their 2015 operating plan. So that's here in the office if anyone wants to take a look at it. Also, we did receive a memorandum from the director, Barley Dune. He's still discussing and investigating the possibility of selling some of the surplus oyster seed. So he wanted to make us aware of that and let us know, in case we had any questions or concerns or want to, let him know our opinion on that. But it would definitely be surplus seed that would not be, they would have difficulty overwintering in the hatchery because you want to grow them to a certain size before you seed them. So as they they get bigger, they need to weed them out. So this would be things they could.
Would it be worth trying just to put it out? That's not.
They do that. That's what they have been doing.
Okay. It's not. It doesn't make it.
It does. Yeah, it's not a quantity that survives. Yeah. So if there is an alternative, he's just investigating that.
Isn't there a change to town code that would be required for that? Because he's looked into that in the past and gotten pushback from the town.
Oh, I'm not sure.
You looked at it in the
I'm not
past
sure.
for receiving,
receiving.
not sending.
Yeah.
That was what I
I
think.
thought he wanted to sell for a while and he wasn't allowed to
Oh, I
sell
thought it
to
was the
outside
reverse.
sources.
And that might
Check it
have
out.
something to do with the state monies that they
Right.
took as a grant.
Yeah, but
To
I'm not
initiate?
sure. Do you know?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I thought,
Yeah.
same with Stephanie, I thought
Yeah.
that was what it was.
Yeah.
The reverse, but,
Right.
Because he's wanted to sell for quite some time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to
We'll
see.
have to.
Yeah.
Well, how does this
Yeah.
board feel about that?
Yeah.
We can't use it in our own water, then if it makes sense
Yeah.
for him to recoup some money.
If he thinks it's like, if
Yeah.
it's gonna die, if it's to sell it or die, let it die.
No sense knowing they die, yeah.
Right.
Put the money
Yeah.
and build a bigger hatchery.
Exactly, yeah, give them more room so we don't have to sell it.
And just so that everybody knows, there is a market right now for shellfish spat and seed and things of that nature because there's a Suffolk County Aquaculture lease program and they lease out 10 acres, 5 to 10 acres to leaseholders in Gardeners and Naphagon all the way up into the western portion of the Peconics. So there is not a local source for the seed that these folks would need in order to start a shellfish operation. So I'm very much in support of it.
Okay.
And again, there's no local source. So
Right.
this would provide a
Yeah.
much needed source and a revenue to the
Right.
shellfish hatchery.
Yeah, he does mention that in here, that
Oh, good.
some of them are proposing to grow it to a larger size and then return it to the town for seeding. So that is a good, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
do we need
So-
to say anything as a board or?
I don't think
He's
it's
not
not
asking
official.
anything, yeah, he just says if we have any questions or concerns, just reach out to him, so.
Okay.
Just in a discussion stage, keeping us in the loop,
Good.
which is good, yeah.
He's good at that.
Yeah, he's good at that,
Is there
yeah.
a question?
Yep, oh, I'm sorry, quick, let's go to the podium.
If we were to sell it, how far would the limits be on how far away someone could buy it?
That's not specified in here right now. The only thing he does say is that, in the preliminary discussions, in order to restrict sales to East Hampton residents only,
Okay.
may not be legal, so they're investigating that. So it doesn't say just how far reaching this could go.
Okay.
Supply
Yeah.
and demand.
Just for
Yeah.
concern of the
Yeah.
genetics of the
Yes.
living things, you don't want them to get really far out of
Right.
this area.
Yeah, which is why it's hard to get seeds
Yeah.
here, yeah. So, good question though, thank you. Okay, next is, we have received four additional Phragmite removal and control applications. A property Yas call, and one that's not on the agenda because it just got dropped off this afternoon, is Che, C-H-A-E. All three of these properties around Georgia Pond, they all are all, Mr. Harwith, who was here to see us 2 weeks ago, he is their agent. The fourth one, OGP LLC, is one that we had actually issued a permit to in the past. They are, it will be expiring in July. They have received all their other permits now, except for one, so they're hoping to get ours renewed and then get the other one in place and then finally move forward with starting. So I'm gonna put all of those out to the committee to review and ensure that we have all the proper information.
I'm sorry, you missed the letter from the
I did?
village. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I missed a good one. Okay, I'm sorry.
This is a good one.
Yeah, we have received a letter from the village clerk of Sag Harbor. Apparently a 27-foot sailboat sunk last fall beyond the village's breakwater and outside the village's jurisdiction. So they have spoken to Ed Michaels and the U.S. Coast Guard. This vessel remains, but it is a navigational hazard. So at the request of the board, they're contacting us to ask for our assistance with the removal of this vessel.
Who's the owner?
It doesn't say.
Who owns the land? Sitting on it.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
That's what we like to do. They want to acknowledge it's our land.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly the point.
Right.
For 30 years, they've been fighting,
Yes.
saying we don't know
Yes, yeah, I
the
know.
harbor and Sag
I
Harbor.
know.
Now suddenly the boat's
Yeah.
saying we own it.
We should send them
Yeah.
back a letter saying, based on your letter, I assume.
We assume you're
Assume that the boat's on our property.
And if so, we'd be happy to help in the
Exactly,
removal.
just give us a quick claim deed
Yeah.
and get the boat out.
Quick claim deed,
Yeah.
quick claim deed for all disputed properties, that boat will be gone by Thursday.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah. Yeah, but basically, we need to respond that we'd like to settle any jurisdictional
Yes.
questions prior to,
Maybe this settles it.
maybe it does, yeah.
Maybe it does, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for acknowledging trustees' jurisdiction in
Yes.
Sag Harbor waters.
Yeah.
We will
Remove the boat from
consider
our home.
removal of the boat, I don't know.
Well, I think you really should ask
You
what
just ask
they're,
coordinates and ask.
Or ask exactly what they're
What
looking
what they're
for is
looking for and
Yeah.
what their standards are, which is ours and which is theirs. Why do they think that we stop with it because they built a breakwater? Why would they think that changes ownership?
It
I don't
shouldn't
understand it.
change it.
The ownership,
You know, it's-
they have to build a breakwater on top of our land.
exactly.
So they said that they put buoys around it, so
Yeah.
maybe just say, keep dialogue going, you could just ask for what the buoys, description of the buoys, so that we
Red.
can allow the
They're red, don't we?
Could we send
residents
them
to know.
Did you see it?
something like, based on your letter, we assume,
It's just east
we assume that this boat is on our, that you believe this boat is on our property and no problem. If this is the case, we'll be glad to take action.
I would like to have them be a little more specific in what they think is our property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, what are the lines that they believe apply there? I mean, they may be reasonably
What lines do
different
we
with this.
believe apply then?
We believe it's ours.
Then that should be
Well.
where we start from.
And I think
We've
it's a
gone
good
around.
time, and not to necessarily try to, but keep it very open in the response of something more like a positive response of, we'd be very willing to help,
If we could confirm it was on our property.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, you want the coordinates, it's good to say. You want the
Coordinates, that's what I
You wanna
said
know
already,
exactly where it is.
Okay. All right.
But just, say like,
We just
thank
really
you for
gotta
reaching out to
yeah.
us,
We
we'd be
just
very.
have to take one more step, we'd be more than glad to help this thing
Yes.
if it's on our property. Could you
Exactly.
please send us
There
the
you go.
coordinates?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, okay, all right, that we will do. So then we did the Georgia, okay, we did receive an application from, US Information Systems, it's just a name, fancy name for a property, dock repair in 3 Mile Harbor. I will, give that out to the committee to review. It is a recognized dock, there's no issue, just repair, yeah. We have received a memorandum from the town, following up on the, beach fires. They have asked our input on the proposal. It would be an amendment to chapter 141, fire prevention, article 3, open burning outdoor fires and beach fires. And paragraph A would be amended to add the following: all beach fires must be fully contained within a metal container. So that is something that the town board is asking for our input on.
I think it's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Is that a container that has a bottom or
Yeah.
just a ring?
A bottom.
Bottom. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
They can
you
take
know,
the debris with them.
just
Yeah.
so everybody remembers, we did have this request from the village a number of years ago, and we offered, we said to them we didn't see a problem with it, so it's been 2 or 3 years now. I have not had any feedback on whether the village found it helpful or not, but neither have I had any complaints from anybody, so just so you're all aware. Yeah.
These wouldn't be fixed locations, people could have fires wherever they want, as long as they have their own metal,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
cement pan or something, yeah.
Just out of curiosity, if you're gonna carry it in, carry it out,
Right.
what does having it in the sand do that's different that the metal would do?
The people don't carry it out, they bury it.
What would they,
The bigger,
Yeah.
would they just dump that metal ring out on the
Perhaps.
beach and carry the metal rings out?
Well, they should burn it all off
Well,
and
I
then
think
put it
That's what I'm
on.
saying,
But if
is
they
I know
don't,
the theory behind
Yeah.
it, but is there a difference of just dumping it out and
yeah,
letting
it's
that
just,
metal
But it
cool off?
starts, I believe, I've read this before, and I believe it starts by saying any debris, so
Okay.
section 1 says the presence of debris left behind from beach fires, including but not limited to such items such as nails, wire, broken glass, and hot smoldering coals, braces. So I believe by this beginning statement in this, they're already in chapter, I believe that they're already saying you can't leave the debris. That's how
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the benefit of the metal ring then?
so that the smoldering
Carry it
coals come with you once they're put out, like
That's
that's.
the debris though.
no,
No.
but you can do with the metal pans, you can put water in it,
You-
and
Yeah,
it goes
that's
out.
what's gonna happen, you're gonna
Okay.
cool,
You
you're not
dump
gonna put it in
water
your
on
truck
top
hot.
of it.
Right, you
You're
cool it,
gonna
but
cool it, and you're gonna.
that's how,
bring
I
stuff
mean,
with you.
That's how I read it.
that's how I read
Just
it,
Yeah.
so.
want it all
Yeah.
safe, one
Yeah.
container.
Right.
I was just curious of what
That's
the, you know what I mean, human nature to me is you put it in a ring and you flip it over and you didn't do anything. It's sand, but that's what it is, you know,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just seems to be
Yeah.
the,
Well, it may
Yeah.
happen, but
Yeah.
it's not, it's not gonna happen all the time.
Yeah.
no,
I mean, it does seem pretty self-explanatory, however, it is new business, if we just wanna, make the public aware, see if we get any feedback from anyone before we
Yeah.
actually act on it.
What is the
It's
fine for
acceptable.
non-compliance with that, not
Uh,
having
it
a fire
Doesn't say,
pit?
it
Well,
doesn't
that should be
say,
included, because,
That's
What's the-
probably,
what's
we
the
didn't get the
chapter?
whole code,
They
one
do write
forty-one?
tickets for it.
141?
Yeah,
yeah,
Highway Patrol writes tickets.
yeah.
I mean, that would be
I
a
know a
good
lot
way
of,
to enforce
uh,
them taking
yeah,
away the
Hampton.
stuff.
So what do you think?
Camping companies come to where I work and they buy the cement.
It's like,
And we use it,
Penalties.
I use it.
Right.
Fine of not more than $250, imprisonment not to exceed 15 days or both.
Okay. Too much talking. John, say that again? We missed
Fine
it.
of up to $250, imprisonment of not to exceed 15 days or both. Each day violation continues constitutes a separate violation. That could be if you've done it twice, 3 times, whatever.
Right,
you know?
okay.
Or if you leave this stuff on the beach for more than 1 day.
So, when we
Okay.
had this with the,
Yeah,
in the village, there's
Yeah.
really no reason to not continue it.
right, yeah.
Yeah,
What's
see-
If
your
I can say
pleasure?
something.
If you could go to the podium, please.
No, I'm not interested in that.
I guess my only concern with that would be that it kind of cuts out people who can't afford to buy a metal ring to go have beach fires, which is just kind of upsetting, if you just wanna go have a beach fire like you always have, you can't always afford to go buy a huge metal ring and bring it to the beach with you. I mean, it's not that expensive, but then also what constitutes the proper metal container, like, could you just, not that saying I would do this, but somebody could just bring like the aluminum pan to the beach and have a little fire in it, is that legal? Or what kind of metals would it be? Aluminum, iron, steel, is that gonna be included in the
Well,
code?
a beach fire is described, I'm not sure if it's in this code or not.
Yeah, it's 30 inches or less.
Yeah, 30 inches or less, so you could do a little pie tin if you chose to.
A gum wrapper? I mean, I'm just saying,
It
there's a
says
big gray area
metal.
there.
Yeah.
But I mean, like aluminum foil, I'm just,
Yeah.
joking about other small metal things that you
Right.
might
That would be for the
Right.
courts
think
to
would be,
decide.
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
All right, just worried that it would cut out certain parts of the community who might not be able to afford
Might open
fire
up
There are
a
free
business.
options,
Okay.
so you can, you know,
Yeah, thanks.
or maybe not
Yeah.
free.
You could have a rent a pit business going on.
An entrepreneur, is that what they're called? Yeah. Okay, so, what's your pleasure? Move forward?
Yeah,
Give it 2 weeks to roll around in your head, what do you wanna do?
Yeah, and I'd like to
Yeah.
give some feedback,
Yeah.
hopefully, from the community.
Okay, such as a couple questions that came up here?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. We will do that then. We will put this into the old business for our next meeting and see if we get any questions or concerns or feedback from the public, or if we come up with any questions, I can forward along to town board as well.
And they can be emailed to you as well as a letter written, right, for convenience purposes, sorry.
Or to you. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yes, they can, email or phone call or come in or whatever, yeah.
No, I'm
While
just
we're communicating
Yes.
with the town board about debris on the beach, back in March, I believe this board sent a letter asking for them to hold a public hearing to increase the fines for littering on the beach, and I subsequently attended a town board meeting and made a few phone calls, and I'm just wondering where that is at.
Yeah, I haven't had any information here in the office, so would you like to reach out to the town board again, or would you like this office to send something up there, or what?
Diane, we've reached out enough, in
We
my
have?
opinion. We've sent
Okay.
a letter from this board, we've attended public meetings, I followed up with phone calls. I don't know what the deal
Yeah.
is, but all we've asked is for something that's really beneficial to the community
Yeah,
and the environment by,
I did-
increasing
yeah, I
littering
did,
fines to match fines
right.
on the, littering on the street.
I'm like, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. It's okay. I do remember seeing the supervisor ask the town attorney to start investigating that. And it could be just that perhaps, once you start to look at the number of chapters where littering or debris is mentioned, it gets complicated to try and consolidate it and get it conforming.
Maybe be a good
That'd the only
winter
thing.
project along
Yeah.
Busy
Yes.
winter.
But, I could just a phone call to the town attorney to see if she's working on it.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay,
Thanks.
that we can do, all right. All right, and then the last thing in new business is this notice of public hearing. I did receive it, and unfortunately, these hearings are set for Friday, June 26th. The first one is a property, let me find it in here, on Georgica Cove, fronting Georgica Cove. This one is just to allow the continued existence of a generator, treehouse, air conditioning units and setbacks, 88 Acabog Road. This one sounds very similar to one we had commented in the past that, it doesn't seem very detrimental to the environment, however, allowing for variances within wetland setbacks, knowing that you're adjacent to a pond that tends to have fluctuating heights. You are taking a risk that your equipment could be flooded or damaged by that. So if no one objects, I could just do a similar memo and get that up there before Friday for that
Yes,
property.
yes, okay.
The second
Well,
one.
I'm sorry
Yeah,
to
okay. No, go ahead.
interrupt you, but
Yeah.
I mean, this is to allow the continued existence, which
Yeah.
means if these people put this in without permits and now they're asking for permission after the fact because they've been found to have illegal structures on their property.
Right.
I mean, as just a comment, I mean,
Yes.
it's just
Yeah,
very frustrating to have that kind of, it's not even that they're asking for a variance to build something
right.
in the future, they're just trying to get okay for something that's not okay. I mean,
Right.
we've got a law in this town, we've got
Yeah.
code and we've got planning and it seems to be just ignored and people
Yeah.
just do whatever they want. It's not, I don't know,
I
it's
mean,
very
we could
frustrating.
just start it with something along those lines, that it is unfortunate that you're looking at a variance for, someone who's already.
Already done.
Already done.
So why does that make it okay to give them,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying the village will, and I'm
And-
not exactly sure what they're asking for, but they're
Right.
just asking for something that they've put up illegally,
Yep,
and that's a
yeah.
shame.
How much is 213,944 square feet in area? That's the
10
property
by-
size.
2?
213,000?
$213,994.
213,000?
Yes.
That's
That's
big.
large.
That's the size of the property.
Yeah.
That's
That's-
213,000?
Yeah.
42,000 is an acre.
42,
Yeah.
so it's 200, it's 5 acres.
Okay, so, I mean, we could say, you know,
Close
it was put in without a permit, and with the property of this size, perhaps they could relocate.
Yeah,
But if
too.
not, and they get their variance, then they should be aware that these type of items inside a wetlands setback could be detrimental. How about that? Is the board okay with that?
Yes.
All right. The second one is area variances for an accessory structure of 600 square feet of conditioned space with 2 rooms and a bathroom on the first floor level, and 1,150 square feet of conditioned space at the basement level with an additional 170 square feet of mechanical storage. Phew, and this is, they're looking for something they wanna call a pool house, but, the accessory structures, it's not meeting that criteria exactly, cause it's too big.
Tone it down.
And, yeah, and the variance, you know, goes on over here.
Wetlands also?
Yeah, this is,
Nature Conservancy.
yeah, there's a lot
Conservation
going on
easements.
here. This is a 392 plus thousand
Yeah.
square foot parcel, on Further Lane. So, they're just looking for a humongous structure.
Where is the structure though? Is it, and does it impact any of our property?
It was border.
It
border the
borders
the
the
ocean
ocean beach held by the
Yeah.
East Hampton Town Trustees.
It's in the zone?
It might,
Oh,
it's,
Sounds like it's one of those
it's-
properties that
they
was
cleared the
sold
zone.
off.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
proposed
Barrett or
stone
whatever it
steps
is.
are
Yeah.
0 feet landward of the 20-foot contour,
No.
where the required
Oh.
setback is 25 feet.
Yeah.
Whoa,
So,
you oughta
Yeah.
say something.
yeah, yeah.
You oughta-
At this point, because this is now, the 23rd, I'm going to ask for additional time to review this, and, hope we get it, because it will impact on trustee properties.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
And also, I'd like to thank the village for forwarding us all of these,
Yeah.
because we've had a very hard time getting this type of variances
Yeah.
and things of that nature
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
town. So the village is really on top of including us in
Yeah.
that conversation.
They
Mr.
are,
Randall
they are.
seems to
It's
be
just
pretty good.
sometimes the timing with their Fridays and we're
Yeah.
Tuesdays and the timing is sometimes off, like with this one.
Can I
Where,
see
you
it?
know, where we don't have an
I
opportunity
I had a
to
quick
thoroughly
village
review it.
question.
Okay,
Have we heard anything from the village with regards to the removal of the garbage cans on trustee beaches? And I believe the feeling was that the litter would overflow, spill out onto the
Right.
beach. And the cans are, I went down and took a look, they're in a long line going east to west, and they're situated right in the middle of the beach from the parking lot to the ocean.
it does say, I got a letter, from the village on June 10th. Just, from the administrator, just advising us that they are in receipt of our letter, regarding the garbage receptacles. And they thank us and they will review the request.
Okay.
I put a call in today, but I got no answer, and I'd like to tag those cans and have the trustee committee remove them if the village doesn't remove them within 2 weeks of tagging. That's what I'd like to do. Wanna help remove them?
I would still like to get some more information
Maybe.
from the village on their policies and procedures for placing, emptying, blah, 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 and thinking that maybe a compromise might be,
Yeah.
take them off at night even, just so they don't get the wildlife to dump them down. But during the day, when they do have huge crowds up there, if they feel like they can, better accommodate the garbage by having them more accessible, you know, I'm thinking something along those
I think they might have
lines.
a road. Do they
Yeah.
have a maintenance path on the beaches?
Maintenance on Main Beach?
No, yeah, do they have a way to get to those cans? that
Main
they-
Beach, I think is a little
They have the
different,
access
I
just
don't
to the
know.
east of
I
the,
don't know.
just to
No,
the
I'm
west of
talking
the
about,
village.
yeah, how do they empty them? Do they,
They drive right on the beach.
that's what I mean, they drive up to
They
the
drive the truck,
beach.
they drive that village truck right on the
But
beach.
do they
and put
have,
them on the-
but they have like they have a path for them to do that?
Right just west of the pavilion.
I'm talking about
It's an
from
access.
can to can to can to can. Can they do that, or are they just in the middle of the beach?
They're right in the middle of the beach.
They're right in the middle, they drive right down, they
The
dump one into the
information
truck
we
and
don't
those in
know.
there.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean, there's a
assuming
way for them to do that with a truck.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, this board requested that the village remove them from the beach, and
Yeah,
I would
Yeah.
like them to answer that besides, we received your letter. I mean, that's not
just a yes or no,
responding.
so we know where we stand.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I did call today, but it was, I guess, past business hours,
Did you know this?
3:30.
Yeah, are they empty and stuff?
Well, like we're doing with the litter fees with the town, would you like me to place a direct call to either Miss Molinaro or the village attorney
Yep.
and see what's going on
Mm-hmm.
and give you an update?
I'd start with Ms. Molinaro.
Yeah,
Start with
She's
start
been
with- yeah.
she's been
Yeah.
really reaching out to us. so.
Okay, I'll start with Becky. All right.
I'll be tagging them at the end of the week.
See if we
That's
can
the
you
end,
have to-
have a
okay.
meet with
Yeah.
Scott.
Can I bring something up that's gonna be new business? It's
Sure.
not on the agenda.
Sure.
I've had a couple of people ask me about the parking lots in a couple of different areas. Where people launch boats, Lady Point, Louse Point, and other beaches,
Okay,
ramps. If
ramps.
we can get them fixed.
Ramps.
I don't know if we can ask the town again.
Well,
Or if
I
we're
do
willing to do it.
I do know that Lazy Point ramp is under discussion being discussed with Councilman Vince Goyak and the Lazy Point Committee folks. And I do know that there was some movement going with the northwest ramp. The county was gonna be going in there to repair that ramp.
I'm talking about the parking lots
Oh,
themselves.
the parking lots.
Yeah.
The parking lot ramps, okay.
Did we
We could certainly
try to get the town to do it?
send a memo that says.
Anyone in priority?
Yeah,
We did it once
Yeah.
ourselves.
Which one?
we did Lazy Point.
Lazy Point.
Lazy
Right,
Point,
yeah, we graded it off, yeah,
They're really bad.
okay, so,
Maybe Steven's got something.
right, we could
Well, we
just,
tried last year, and unfortunately, he couldn't do it without town board approval. And we did reach out to one contractor in particular, and it was like a $5,000, bid to grade it, so, but we didn't take it any further. Maybe we should try to get some kind of resolution before the town, and then I think Stephen would do it for us, maybe. Yeah.
It's a matter of
Lazy Point.
funding.
Well,
I can put
actually,
into a
you can,
budget.
you can back blade and probably not need any product, you could use what's there,
Mhm.
just some really big holes,
Mhm.
yeah, so, equipment is what you need.
what would you like us to do, Steve? Reach out
Okay.
to town board
Yeah,
or
Steve
highway?
Lynch.
Steve first,
Yeah.
and see if he's, if he can
Agabon
help?
also, even just the parking
Agabon?
lots up there.
Yeah, okay. Lazy,
That sand parking lot at Aquaculture.
Yeah.
There we go, yeah.
okay. Okay. All right, we'll send something up to the, highway super, okay. All right, now we're into committee reports.
Before you move
Yeah.
on, may I ask
Yes.
a question?
Brian has a question. Oh, I thought you said you had a question.
Question?
Oh, good. Gotcha. I was like, you got first question. Your response.
Stephanie gave a very good report on the water quality, and that was regarding Dr. Gobler, am I correct? The report that you gave on the water quality, Green Mile Harbor
Regarding the project, the water quality.
quality project. Since Pierre Lombardo is doing it for the town, I was just curious to know
He's
that
not
there
doing-
isn't an overlap and costing money, because is there some coordination between Dr. Gobler and Pierre Lombardo on
He's
the
not
water?
doing,
What P.O. is doing is collecting the data that Dr. Gobler puts together to put into his report to give to the town.
Yep.
So there
So
is
they
no
are working
duplication.
together.
no.
They're
They're
not,
not working.
they're in yeah, Dr. P.O. will request the information, and our annual report will be forwarded to P.O., and he puts it in his documents are put together for the town.
He's getting our data for
Yeah.
free, basically. The town's getting this data and using it, PO's using it.
Right, so there's no overlap or duplication of efforts.
Thank you.
Okay.
I actually didn't like the way some of PO's data was being
Disseminated.
represented.
Yeah.
The data that
Yeah.
we used was being, I just didn't like the way it was being
Yeah, you brought
present
that up
it
at a
second.
spring CAC meeting,
I
right?
will be.
Yeah, okay.
I did briefly, but I'll be expanding.
Okay. Okay, into committee reports, aquaculture, just want to advise everybody that, most of the the shellfish signs need for the permit have been installed. We have here in the office, oh, there they are, under the box, in the event that there's any issue with the crabs at Georgia Pond. The only one that's not installed yet, Deb, is the one at Devon, because I still need to call them and find out where they wanna put it. And the town was not gonna go onto the private property until they knew what was up. So
I'd
that was,
also like to get
yeah,
one for the private property at Storage Association.
okay, all
So our
right,
boats get launched quite often.
okay.
Can you get one?
Seek that
Okay.
permission.
If you want, they're very heavy, and they're all taped together down there, okay. All right, the sediment testing, did you have any follows up, more info on that, Deb?
No, I'm looking to start a project to test the sediments in Napeag and Accabonac for metabolites of breakdown products of methoprene, which is a product that the county is using in our marshlands to control mosquito larvae. So far, the county has sprayed 3 times this year. And I really have a problem with it, and I think a lot of the public also has a problem with it. Just to go backwards, back in 2007, the county approved a mosquito management plan. Prior to that, they had appointed, well, since 1970, they have a 10-member committee on the Council for Environmental Quality that they appointed in 1970 to review and advise the county and the county executive on issues, environmental issues, planning, all kinds of issues, and one of them was this mosquito management plan. So the CEQ, the 10-member committee, who are composed of doctors and lawyers and all kinds of, very intelligent folks, said to the county, don't pass this plan. This is not good for our marine environment. Methoprene should not be used for routine mosquito control. There was just a lot of problems with the plan that this 10-member board didn't like, and they advised the county to not approve it. The county approved it anyway. 4 members of the board, the CEQ, resigned in protest. So that's where this plan that we have today evolved from, was legislators not listening to their advisory board, which is okay, but going forward, we've got 18 county legislators, and each year those folks approve a yearly management plan that builds off of that 2007 plan. And I have reached out to our county legislator, Jay Schneiderman, because 2 years ago he proposed a restriction on the use of methoprene. Now, what he was proposing wasn't not to use chemical pesticides or biopesticides at all, but he was saying that you had to try alternatives first, and you had to have a proof of a disease being in the immediate area before you use these pesticides. That plan was not well accepted by the legislature, and it failed. So I reached out to Jay and I asked if he could reintroduce that bill and just have it be instituted in the towns of Southampton and East Hampton, because I really believe we're the most vocal opponents to the use of these chemicals. We've got trustees in both towns who for years have been advocating against the use. So that's something going forward that I hope that I'm not sure if that can be done.
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
I'm gonna say it all again now.
Oh, God.
You weren't
I was looking for something relative to it.
Well, never mind then.
If Jay can reintroduce his bill.
Right, and if it would, but no, could the bill only, because the thing is, we've got 18 members of the legislature and only 2, I believe, represent the East End. We've got a very different economy, a different culture, a different, environment that's relied heavily upon in the marine environment and our fisheries and things of that nature. So can a legislature that represents the county adopt a bill that would only be instituted in certain townships?
I would think they probably could.
Okay.
I would think they could. On the other hand, if they did, how would they justify allowing it in other counties if they found there were a health hazard relative to shellfish or finfish here in East Hampton?
Well,
How
we've
could they
got-
isolate that if they were talking about Southampton
We've
or
got more of a
South
stake
or?
in our environment than the legislatures up west. They spray their streets. I mean, they spray a lot more than we do out here. I mean, they spray a lot more toxic chemicals. You know, I mean, so it seems like I'm just trying to look to the constituents here that don't like this kind of spraying, or maybe they do. I'm not, you know, I mean, but I'm getting a lot of.
Well, you were asking, can the legislature do it?
Yeah,
I believe
that's
they
one thing.
can, but I don't think they would be likely to do it. I think they would then be engendering questions about people would raise
Yeah.
I could see it engendering lawsuits when people got sick up west saying that
Got
it's
it.
because of the spraying and you banned it in East Hampton
Got
and now you're not banning it here. If they don't have a consistent position on any one item, then
Well,
they're opening themselves up.
Talk about consistency. The state of Connecticut banned it in 2013. Maine has banned it. New Hampshire has banned. Rhode Island and New York City. And what makes us so different than all these other states that we're allowing this to occur? Now, that being said, I think that it's incumbent upon our town board to actually create a solution to the problem, and that would be a mosquito management plan, rather than allowing the county. Now, the county is not following their plan. Let's just put that straight out there. Their plan does not include just the chemical uses to reduce mosquito populations. They're supposed to be doing integrated marsh management, which would reconfigure the water systems to be less conducive to mosquito habitat and better habitat for fish and different species of bats and dragonflies and all these other things that eat mosquito larvae. The county's supposed to be doing a public education component. When's the last time we've heard anything from the county helping us to reduce the mosquito populations in and around our homes, which is the vector of disease, is the house mosquito. It is not. There was a study of over 13,000 marshlands were saltwater marshlands were tested by the state over a 7-year period, and not one was found to have West Nile virus.
Almost all the diseases they claim to be spraying for are from freshwater
Exactly.
mosquitoes.
And
So why are they spraying salt water?
now here's the other thing. There has not been one incidence of West Nile virus in New York State this year, according to the CDC. Not one instance of a diseased mosquito being found in the state of New York, but yet Suffolk County continually sprays us weekly. I challenge to know that they are A, testing for mosquito larvae, or are they just coming to spray? Okay, now they're finding the larva, but it is not a disease threat. And of course, we don't want it to get to that point, that we have to be proactive, but not by just spraying chemicals. So, I mean, the 2007 town board, 2009 town board, and 2013 town board have all sent letters saying that they don't like it. Well, you know what? We need action. And I would like to ask the public to let us know, send emails to clerk@trustees.easthamptonnewyork.gov and let her know what you think about this plan of action by the county. And I think what we really need to do is come together like the folks at Georgia Capon did. Now, they raised over, how much? Over $300,000 on a thought of, you know, let's raise this money in order to do something, we're not sure what. Well, I've got a plan, and I'm not an integrated pest management professional, but, you know, I do have some good thoughts, and I've gotten ideas from lots of places around the country and around. I've read studies done in Egypt. I mean, I'm really researching this stuff. It's not rocket science here. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do, but if the town takes action, maybe the trustees and the town could work together. And ask the public for funds, because that's where the buck stops, is where the county, I believe, I've spoken with Ninavaji, and he's the head of vector control, and he said that if there's not mosquito larvae, I'm not going to spray. So let's challenge him on that. Let's reduce the populations of mosquitoes and larvae to a level that we're going to keep them out. If we can't get a local law passed, if we can't get a regional law passed, a state law, you know, like other states, then we're small enough that we can actually do something here locally. But if it's all about the money, then let's, you know, if the public wants it, I'm not sure. You know, like, some people might like those helicopters buzzing over and dousing the marshlands in chemicals. I'm not sure. I don't think it's good for the public. I don't think it's good for our pets. The new chemicals now, by the way, that the county is using, because they are not allowed to use the old chemicals that were safe up until this year, of course, they are poisonous to dogs and cats as well, and they'll be in the Beach Hampton area. They'll be using those in the Cedar Point parklands, which we don't even need to be notified of because it's their own land. You know, so just so the people down in Northwest know, you guys are being sprayed too, but it's with the adulticides, which are even more toxic than what they're giving us here in Epig and Acavonic. So, you know, they've sprayed today, they sprayed last Friday, they sprayed the Tuesday prior. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and I'll say it again, if their plan is so successful, why are they coming every week spraying these poisons in our community? I mean, it just...
Can I ask a question?
So that's my call for action from the community to let us know, and if we need to raise money, let's raise some money, and let's do something rather than nothing, which is what we're really doing. Talk is pretty cheap, and you know, we need to do something to make a change, and I don't know how to do it. I mean, I just don't know what else to do.
Okay.
What did the commercial people use when they come around and spray your property?
Permethrin, usually.
They use that?
Yeah.
Well,
I
I'm saying,
don't
I don't spray my
No,
own.
I'm asking.
Permethrin is a common one for that kind of stuff. Astro, they call it by the brand name.
The county uses synthetic whatever that synthetic
Astro.
chemicals, yeah.
So yeah, it's I think what Mr. Perotti's trying to point out is that it's not just the county, but it's over the counter products and
Which is even
you know,
scarier.
yeah.
The non-professionals.
Right. I think
Well,
there are like,
They can't buy that.
you know, if
Yeah,
you
you have to be a
some things
licensed
public.
application to buy it.
imagine that
To buy
there
a
are
band
little,
to buy that.
you know, pockets of areas where there are residents who do feel inundated by mosquitoes.
Yep.
And you know, that maybe it's those little things you can do, like not to ensure that you don't have standing water. Little things they can do to help prevent the larva, you know, that maybe, if nothing else, maybe you just wanna put a little thing on our website that's, you know, a little information on
We've had it
how
for
to-
years.
It's there already?
Yeah.
Okay,
The
all right.
CDC information on, mosquito reduction. I might have even used the county flyer, I'm not sure.
Maybe put it up on the what's new.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so anyway, so we'll see what response we get from the community.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry to blow up your email like that.
No, that's okay, that's okay. In addition to that though, Deb, I did get this email that was stakeholder meetings for the Long Island Pesticide Pollution Prevention Strategy, and I had the bills forwarded to you.
Well, you know what, I have a comment on that too, Diane,
Okay.
I know it's hard to believe.
Okay.
But it's hard to actually
So-
avoid your house on
Yeah.
purpose.
Okay.
It's questionable whether or not
Please,
they're
I'll
really-
wait till the
gentlemen,
conversation's
please,
over.
please, Rona, please.
Yes.
The board is still in session.
That's okay.
You could go outside if you have a conversation. Need one?
No, just reading bed spraying.
So a few years ago, the DEC had yet another meeting on their pesticide use management plan for our area. At that time, they found over 117 pesticide-related chemicals in our groundwater. And this board wrote a letter to the DEC because they were doing yet more studies, and I think we were pretty clear we wanted to know the synergistic effects, is that the right word?
With the,
Where these chemicals combine, and there's known effects when they combine that they're much more toxic, but we were concerned about that. And we were also concerned about just more study and more study and more study. Well, yet again, Diane, today and tomorrow, they're studying still more, the same atrazine, imidacloprid, which is a systemic pesticide, and another one which the name escapes me.
Yeah.
But here they are, still studying this, still public comment. I mean, I just don't know when it stops. When is there action to stop we've got 117 chemical-related pesticides in our groundwater. What more do we need to research and study and talk about and have public comment? It's pretty clear. So, I mean, I don't know. I just...
If you wanted to just draft something up, they're looking for, their goal is to start implementing measures, to protect. So we could just send this little committee something that says, okay, enough study, now let's.
It's due
take-
tomorrow, it's a public comment.
Right, you don't
And-
think they'll keep going? I thought it was like they were gonna keep going and going.
Well, they
and going.
have been.
Oh,
You
they
know,
have been.
Every couple of years, they have a new public comment period.
Oh, okay.
I'm just frustrated with them as well.
Frustrated, okay, okay,
Okay,
understood.
sorry about that.
Yeah. In aquaculture, it's not on our agenda, but Nat had asked if we could bring up the swim buoys, which the gentleman had asked me to ask Mr. Michaels to get installed, and I forgot, so.
Yeah,
That's
that's fine, I
Remind
mean,
me.
just to get them
Yeah.
on, because
Yep.
as the holiday weekend
Yep.
starts,
Yeah.
road traffic will increase.
Yeah,
They
as the
should
weather's
be all
getting
ready to
Yep.
go.
and then also,
Take it off, Diane.
Oh,
I'm gonna help delegate.
okay.
No, I
Yeah.
can do, I didn't know,
Okay.
I thought,
Yeah, I
not
think-
the park department, but the harbor.
Marine mechanics, Bennett, Jimmy Bennett, yeah.
Who's that?
He's, and then also, the shells, Nat, you wanted to bring up our shell recycling?
Oh, the shells?
Yes.
I'm gonna start on that pretty soon. I built well, most of it's built, a shifter, put the shells in to separate the oil organic stuff from the shells. So I'd like to figure out an avenue to get volunteers or some sort of labor pool to do a little bit at a time and get the shells clean, and then from there, put those in a pile and get them in as the water is just whatever we have to do to get them in the water.
Would it be safe for community service?
I
For
just,
kids?
I just made I took an old lobster pot,
Yeah.
and I opened it up, I built a frame on it, and one
Mhm.
person, put a few shells on it, picked it up, shifted a couple times,
Yeah.
and all the rotten stuff or half rotten stuff or organic stuff that shouldn't go in the water.
I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
we're at the end of the school year now, but, you know,
Lot of
anybody that
people
has
working.
kids or have
Yeah.
It'd
children,
be perfect.
it's community service
If
that
anything else, I
is
mean,
needed, yeah.
We'll make sure.
Bacteria,
I don't know.
Yeah,
Alright, just
Yeah.
a thought.
I don't know.
okay,
I just,
Alright.
okay.
I mean, I'll put some time in if the other trustees wanna help here and there, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
Can any volunteers email clerk@trustees?
Anyway, I'd just like to get that project started.
We're gonna start giving you.
Those were the days.
Okay, thank you, Nat, very much. Okay, in Georgia, we've already discussed the, skimming barge.
Okay.
And,
Sorry.
we did receive notice that the Bannard, biolog project has
Yes.
commenced, so we
Wire
want,
craft,
yep,
right.
you wanna keep your eyes on that one. Okay, in Hog Creek, we have sent Reese, is that the one I was waiting on you, Deb, to let me know if there were
Driftwood.
boulders?
That also,
Or-
and there seems to be little community discord down there that some folks want to bring their like lawn chairs down to the beach
Yes.
and the beach front. You know, it's a private road, kind of a private beach access, but it's a public beach. And folks that live along the beach don't want the lawn chairs, and I don't want the lawn chairs there either. So that seems to be a public, you know, that people were complaining that people were saying it's a private beach and things of that nature. I think it's more of a lawn chair issue.
Okay.
But that seems
Yeah.
to be the house in question is the same house with those
Yeah.
boulders that you asked, you know, this board asked them to
Right.
remove like 2 years
Are
ago.
they still there? That's what I needed to
The
know.
last time I was
They are.
there, they were
Okay,
there,
so I'm
yeah.
gonna amend that letter and get that out,
Thank
okay.
you.
Yep, and then we can make it, yeah, we'll see what happens when we get our permit condition compliance.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Silver, we have received a notice that the bulkhead repair is complete. So if the committee could go check that out, on site, I'll take a look at the file and see that we have all our permit conditions. We had brought up at the last meeting the Wagner, the cement things on the beach, Deb.
Yeah.
I wanted to let you know that he's actually going to be in court on July 16th. There is a chance that it would be postponed once again. It's been adjourned and adjourned and adjourned, but it is scheduled to be there on the 16th. Unless a jury is requested, then it would get delayed again.
Could I Could I ask you to hold this up for the camera, just so the public knows what we're dealing with here?
Okay.
That's been on the
Oh,
beach since post Sandy, very close
Yeah.
after Sandy. How many
Yep.
years is
Almost
that?
3.
Yeah.
Almost 3 years. Hold it still, hold it still.
Yeah, okay. I'm not a good fan of water.
So there's
I'm sorry.
19
Buy a valve.
2,000-pound bricks on the public beach.
Yeah.
And I'm just, and then it's
Yeah.
grown. So all
Yeah.
these rocks are now new, they weren't there originally, so now there's giant boulders in addition
Right.
that have been placed there after
Yeah.
the fact, and
Right,
just
and it's, yeah,
for the record. There you go.
for the record. Oh, okay, good, we'll put that in the record, yeah. So I'm gonna keep my eye on that. I would like, at least myself, another trustee that could be in the court that day, it could be very beneficial.
Do you know what, I mean, I was there
Yeah.
when they were putting them in. I mean,
Yeah, so that would be good.
I think you have to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly, this is your baby.
yeah.
What day of the week is that?
Any questions, call.
It's a Monday, I believe.
Yeah.
Email all
One-
of us.
1-800-DEAD.
1-800
Litter committee.
No, it doesn't, it looks like
Oh, it's a Thursday?
It's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday, so then
Yeah.
it's under a criminal day, that's odd.
Okay.
Oh, it's not odd.
It's a criminal act.
Yeah.
No, but they're not being charged for a town code violation, because the town attorney is not there on Thursdays.
Oh.
The DA, the district attorney is there, and they have all, what time is it? Maybe it's an afternoon thing, maybe they
He
put it on
didn't
that?
say, he didn't say.
Has it been held over for trial?
Yeah.
I mean, is
I
it,
don't know.
maybe, I mean, it's already been,
I don't
you
know.
saying anybody asked for a jury, is this the same one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did, so maybe it is.
It's probably
Being
a
done
trial
under a
thing
criminal,
then,
under,
Oh, 1
Appeal
o'clock it
law.
says, John, I'm sorry.
okay.
1 o'clock,
All right,
Yeah.
well, then the DA may be gone by then.
okay,
They're
okay,
usually there Thursday morning.
okay. All right.
You
so
should be
we'll
there.
see. Oh, yeah, I'll be there, yep,
Somebody should.
yep. All right, and then I want to just let the board know that the shoreline fence that Deb had seen that didn't have a permit, that's been referred to ordinance enforcement. Okay. In Napeag, the derelict boat. Matt?
Take it away, Deb.
Oh, that's right, you gave me some papers on that.
Oh, we got an
earlier.
estimate,
Yeah.
and it's up to the board to decide if they'd like to go forward with this project. There's a derelict boat, it's been on a trustee road for decades, and then Nat actually found it and has been speaking with some folks.
There's other
and-
stuff that's on trustee property, trustee road, close to the beach, it's just someone left their old stuff there. There's a boat, and I think
Two
it's,
boats.
2 boats. I think it's our job to remove it and open the access, and not to mention get the debris away from the harbor and out of the harbor.
Could do it right here on.
We got an estimate from,
Yeah.
who's this?
Bonnet
Morgan
Clients.
Roman and George Miller,
Okay.
from Bonnet
Okay.
Buy and Sell.
George.
A lot of the other contractors were just so busy, they couldn't entertain it until September, August, or October, I'm sorry. So
How big is that boat, Nat, the big one?
it's big.
It's a
I mean,
shrimp boat, right?
Honestly, at $3,000, I think it's a very fair estimate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be a 40-yard dumpster. I mean, it's a 40-yard southern skipjack, plus the other stuff around it, the engine pieces.
Okay.
Yeah,
John
Beckelsfield has it.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna just interrupt for 1 second, Nat.
Okay.
Okay? Stephanie advises me, you can hear the rumblings, she's checked on, we are about to get hit with a very severe thunderstorm. I just wanted to make everybody aware in case you wanted to get home. Second to that, I did want to ask our, not until it starts raining, yeah, our LTV gentleman in the truck, because we have wires running through the window and right under my seat. If there's gonna be any consequences here.
There might be an opening for
There we
Clark.
go.
She had the bloopers
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. We'll hit you with this
We'll hit
wood
you.
if you get
Okay,
electrified.
just so if there's gonna be any danger, he's
Yeah,
free to
way.
come in and handle it.
Yeah.
So,
You can interrupt,
okay,
no problem.
yes, okay,
I'm
yes,
definitely
sir?
for like
I'm
that.
sorry.
I was
Yeah.
gonna wait till the
Yes.
end, but since that announcement, I was gonna ask you just now.
Okay.
I'm on one of the new business applications.
Oh, okay.
Do we have to ask anything, or do you guys have to know anything?
Oh,
I'm not
which
sure.
one were you?
It was US Information System, that one.
Oh, the dock,
Yeah,
okay.
the replacement.
I don't think so. I haven't taken a close look at, all the information, but we did get the application. If your phone number and address are on there,
Yeah,
did you have an agent or did you submit it yourself?
we submitted.
Submit it, okay. if we review that application and we see that we need a verification form, if there's anything we need, we reach out and we ask that of
Okay.
you to have that for the committee to continue review. But I think for your information, as long as it's a repair or replacement of the structure,
Exactly.
and it's in place, it's not changing in any
No.
fashion, except maybe you're using better materials that had been originally used,
Well,
there
that's easy,
shouldn't
yeah,
be,
right.
Nothing changes.
right, there shouldn't be
Yeah.
any issue
Okay,
with
it's
getting
everything
it
exactly the
repaired.
way it was, we're
Right.
replacing it, and we
Right.
just wanted to try
Yeah.
to get it before the kids cut.
What was the
Yes.
last name again?
Okay.
Madonna,
it's US
Lewis Information System.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Remodel.
Yes,
Yeah.
oh, so you heard me
Okay.
say it's a fancy name, okay,
Yeah.
all right, yes,
The
I'm
corporation.
sorry that I didn't,
No, I didn't know
recognize
whether
it
the
earlier.
procedure was to speak then or at the end, but
Right.
then since.
Okay, generally speaking, if it's new business, we just make the public and the board aware that we have it,
Okay.
and then we start our review.
All right, and if there's any
Contractor.
questions, we can certainly
Yes.
do that.
Contractor.
No contractor, they just sent it themselves.
Oh.
Oh, but when,
There's a contractor listed.
there's
in there.
to build it,
All
yeah.
the
Permit,
information.
Yeah, well, I haven't looked at it that
License, okay,
close
got
yet,
it.
so we need to look at it, yeah.
All right.
Okay, that's all,
Okay, that's
for
what
now.
And I would
Okay.
keep my feet up those walls.
I know.
That's what I said, right?
Okay, thank you very
Good
much.
night, everybody.
Safe
Safe-
Thank
you.
safe
Have a
trip
good
home.
evening.
Okay. Just tonight, it just went out. I don't know.
No, it hasn't gone, we haven't gone.
Okay, back to our $3,000 for removal of boats. So, now, $3,000 for removal of a derelict boat. It's gonna require a dumpster
Dumpster.
and equipment.
Removal.
I think they said they're gonna not use heavy equipment, they don't have it, they're gonna actually
Cut it apart.
muscle
up
it,
with
yeah, they're
chainsaw
gonna cut
and
it
stuff,
apart,
whatever.
put it all in
Okay.
there. Young
Wow.
go-getters.
Oh, boy.
They must have some.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's been there for a long time, and I know it's blocking an access to the harbor.
Yeah, it's gotta be done.
It's gotta be done, and I think just
I
going
agree.
forward.
It's not gonna go anywhere if we don't do anything.
Right, what we're gonna
Yeah.
have to start doing though is actually when we look at our monies and our budgets going forward,
Okay.
is anticipate that this is what we're looking at, because I know the town is as well. Trustee roads, derelict boats.
Moorings, we have to have
Moorings.
moorings we have to get out
Yeah,
still.
so it's this inability of some people to properly dispose of their own junk
Yeah.
items,
Sailboats.
whatever.
And I think in this day and age,
Sailboats.
once it's
Yeah.
removed, especially in
Yeah.
that area or any area, people are more
Mhm.
aware,
Mhm.
more conscious, and not, to keep their crap there, pardon my language.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
It just keeps it open.
Very
Yeah.
rude.
Yeah.
It keeps an access open.
All right. But anyway, having been there and seen that and gone through this, do you guys wanna make a recommendation that we move forward?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes?
yeah,
All right, so we will
3,000 sounds good.
authorize the expenditure of $3,000 to remove this derelict boat.
And that's gonna, that's cleaning up the whole road.
It's everything.
Yeah.
The job is not just the
There's
boats.
lobster pots, there's
Yeah,
Oh,
all
he's
whatever.
saying, yeah, they're taking everything, 'cause I
Yes,
just
I mean,
said the
they're gonna,
boat, he
they're
said,
gonna
I'm
clean,
taking,
they're
I'll
gonna clean
take
the trustee
everything.
road,
Yeah.
including the
And
boat.
the trustee road.
Okay.
Okay, good, good, good. Okay,
So you'll contact them?
Yep. I will.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
You gotta make
Okay.
that a motion.
Oh, yeah, we should make that a motion to expend those funds.
Nat should make that motion.
Nat should make that
I
motion.
make a motion to, spend $3,000 to clean up the derelict boat and other debris on the trustee road.
Second.
Nephi?
All's in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed and carried.
Good job.
Okay. Where am I?
Notice of incomplete application.
Yes, this is 45N and 46N, these are Sue Noble's lots. Her Suffolk County Department of Health Services, this would be for the septic. She got a notice of incomplete application and she forwarded us a copy.
Okay.
Meaning what, she didn't fill it out correctly, or?
Yeah, they're looking
Okay.
for some more information.
Got it.
Yep.
They need more
Yeah.
information, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we had a meeting last Tuesday with the, some of the Lazy Point residents here at the office, which went very well. We did discuss the educational event for August 19th, and so actually Mr. Drew dropped this off today. It's like a little summation of what was discussed at the meeting. The educational event as well as those potential changes to the rules and regs, et cetera, and lease fees also we had discussed. So this has been given to me and the assistant clerk and the committee members at this point, but we'll disseminate this also to the rest of the boards. Earlier this week, Mr. Priori had also brought in, one of the concepts that was discussed for the lease fee was basing any increases going forward on CPI. So that's a concept I want the board to just kind of think about, roll around, get a look at this information and see how that would apply down there. Because it would at least be something that's, what's the word I want?
Standard or
Consistent, standard, right, not on a whim by any particular board or whatever. So, anyway, something to review. The concept of the educational event on the 19th is the one that I thought should take precedence because it's gonna come up sooner than we think. So we had discussed possibly meeting down there with Mr. Cohen, who's also here this evening, to get a feel for the place and see what would fit in there.
Well, I've been in
Yeah.
contact with Cornell, who will be
Okay.
basically the guest speakers for most of the event.
They will be.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. They're gonna
Okay.
be reporting on all of the eelgrass restoration projects in town that they've done with the trustees. And
Okay.
they both agreed on the 19th, the Cornell and Mr. Cohen, and now they do wanna meet. And I asked Cornell just a day or two ago to send me a couple of different days so I could throw them by you. And then we'll all go down there and discuss what it's gonna look like. We kind of agreed it would be good in the afternoon. It was a Wednesday, I think.
Wednesday afternoon,
Yeah,
yes.
so like the general public, people that are at work, it's not on a weekend, and the folks can come down and find out about all parts of the town, at that one nice large, meeting area. So I think that'll be really good. And we'll
Okay.
be able to talk about future initiatives with Cornell and Eelgrass, and they'll just give us the whole, the results of all the different work that they've done, the study they did in Hot Creek, the restoration there, that was a public-private partnership between the homeowners and Cornell and our board. Northwest, Napig. So I think it'll be a really great event, lots of information will be.
Okay, we had talked about asking the Peconic Baykeeper if you might be interested in attending. Is that acceptable?
Which one?
Or
The keeper.
the new one? Did I get the title wrong?
No, he's the
I thought he
big
quit. The new one quit. I thought.
The new
They
one
got a
did
new
quit,
one?
now
The new one quit?
There was something in the
There's a
paper.
new
about
one.
the new one quit, but
Oh.
there's a new one.
There's a new one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I-
Okay, so maybe we'll wait on that. But barley to come with some shellfish?
That'd be great.
Okay, yeah. Because now, when we talk about the eelgrass, I know there's eelgrass in Napeag as well as other places, but are we focusing more, a concentration on Napeag?
I think they're going to talk about their different restoration efforts throughout the town. What work they've done here in the past, short few years. They've only been, doing work in the eelgrass business here, and there's other options too besides just eelgrass, other native species that they've been working toward reintroducing.
Okay.
Because the eelgrass is temperature dependent, and there seems to be water temperature problems
Okay.
globally and locally.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I think that meeting we should have sooner than later. It's only 2 months away, and then we could
Yes.
decide and discuss what other
Okay.
folks to bring in. But I mean,
Okay.
it's going to be lengthy as it is. So to
okay.
bring in, I think to bring in too many other. I mean, barley is awesome because eelgrass
Okay.
and hatchery kind of goes hand in hand.
Okay, okay. All right, so we'll wait for a date to get,
Yeah.
between these, and
We'll
we'll go down.
Yep.
Okay,
Great.
all right,
Thank you.
all right. And the other major piece we discussed at the meeting was the Good Circle, which Mr. Drew had brought up, which is like a fundraising thing. But it does appear like some complications might arise with, we're not a non-for-profit. So there's a lot of information in here as well on that. So we should review that and see whether going forward, some other project.
Well, Good Circle raises monies for not-for-profits, is that
Right.
the deal? Well, they could
Right.
raise money, is Cornell is a not-for-profit,
Okay.
Green Meadows program, aren't they?
I don't know.
Or Stony
I
Brook,
don't know.
perhaps, if it
Or
was for
Stony
water
Brook.
testing and
Right.
monitoring, which was the
Right.
initial objective.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it could, eelgrass would be a great one too.
yeah, yeah. So just another, means of gathering some funding. So that's a good.
That's great.
Yeah, so that's gonna be reviewed, so thank you. Did you do this or did Mary do this?
Mary did that.
Okay.
I
This is
contributed,
like-
but she's
wow.
our master
Very
craftsman.
professional, yes, it looks great. Okay.
The college papers aren't
Yeah.
this good.
All right, into the nature preserve, oh yes, we have received two new drafts. The nature preserve committee is looking for, What did I put in here? Yep. They have created 2 draft plans. One would be a general community preserve management plan. These are for, I gotta try to get it straight now. These are purchases in whole or in part with CPF solely for open space preservation. Whereas the general nature preserve management plan are properties the town board have been designated as nature preserves, but don't have specific management plans specific to them. Like, we just 2 weeks ago were looking at the draft management plan for the South Flora parcel. We've looked in the past at the Duke property at Loups Point, so there are particular properties that have individual management plans. This would be something that's a general that would apply to all nature preserves, whether they have an individual plan or not. The only thing that I noticed in looking at these is that both of them are the same. It says all properties would be open to the public 365 days a year from sunrise to sunset, except for something about the hunting and fishing, blah, blah, blah. But at the meeting where these were put on the table, Ms. Harder was present, and she's considering becoming a member of that committee, and they were discussing stargazing on some of these town parcels. So if this is gonna be, we wouldn't be able to do any scars. So I think, just to point that out, stargazing, and then, they had dumping / littering of, but not limited, anyway, they need to, that's a little grammatical, what? Okay, and then they're just mentioning temporary hunting blinds, with the town trustees and whatnot, but I just wanna clarify boundary lines with regard to waterfront properties. If the duck blinds are going in the water or in the marsh where it's wet, they are trustees, and we have separate, timeframes for installation and removal of duck blinds that they might need to just acknowledge in here. So, with the board's approval, these are here if anybody wants to see them prior to the next Nature Preserve Committee meeting, but if there's no other comments, that would be what I would bring to them from us. Okay? Okay. Colicchio is a phragmite removal. We don't actually have the application yet, but I did contact the attorney for the property owners who had had a ZBA hearing, and he said we had sent them a letter requesting more information, so they are in the process of putting that together to return to us. The Hedges Banks violations, and really folks, if anybody's got something to add, just jump in there. The Hedges Banks, wrong paper. I had my notes here. Anyway, see if I can remember it. Kahn, Strauss, and Sawatsky, we have received notices from their agent that they are working on the as-built survey and the photographs, and they thought they'd have it done by the end of May. It has not yet been received, so I'm going to call that agent and find out what's going on. Roman, actually, as far as we're concerned, as our permit has been completed, we have all conditions met. If there's a deer fence on the property, it would be on the upland, which would be another entity's issue to resolve. And Reed, I think, is the last one that I had looked at. And we have sent a letter, I believe, asking for the updated information, but I haven't had a response yet, so I thought maybe just send out a second one, if no one objects. Okay. And if you haven't heard me talk enough, now we have report of the clerk, which isn't as big as last time. Did want to let everyone know that we received a very nice card, I'll pass it around. Very nice thank you card from Sophie Spencer, who was a recipient of our Rising Fund scholarship, which is really nice. Yeah. Yep. I had a very nice email correspondence back and forth with Celia Curran, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. She does a little newsletter for LTV, and she will be putting a little announcement on there of our meetings now being filmed. And somewhere in here I thought I had read about when they would be aired. and I wanted to let everyone know, if I can find it. I should have highlighted it.
I can look
Okay, thank you, Steph. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, we did receive a response from Mr. Cantwell regarding our letter about the amendment of chapter 82, which was the signage down here for the alcohol at Indian Wells. And he said he would be happy to meet with us at our convenience. So anytime we're ready, we'd like to meet with
We
him.
meet twice a month. Anytime.
Say what?
We meet twice a month.
Oh, we meet twice.
All the time?
We do.
Second
But if
Tuesday,
there's-
6 p.m.
They
Yep,
put the new signs up.
yes,
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 I saw it.
yes.
they had the public hearing there.
It doesn't,
sorry.
oh, okay, I'm sorry,
It
maybe
just
I
says
read it.
Our meeting times.
Oh, okay, sorry, I thought I had it in
What
there.
is he asking?
Well, we had sent a memo to the supervisor saying that, you know, it was kind of a missed opportunity that we weren't able to participate
Right.
in their public hearing about alcohol on the beach. And that, you know, knowing that there's a lot of issues or information or expertise varying between trustee people and town board people, that maybe we should just, you know, meet and throw some things around on the table to chit chat. And he said he'd be happy to do it, you know, at our convenience. So, yeah.
And that's why I mentioned,
Yeah.
you come see us anytime,
Okay.
twice a month.
So,
Yes, I know.
Check and see if that resolution
So,
is-
anyways, it's just, yeah.
We did.
Good. That's good.
Yes, okay.
I wanted to mention to everyone that Tim and I were able to attend the Southampton Town Trustees public meeting last Friday night. And very interesting, the people that went to the podium, driving on the beach, access to the beach. Same things that we're discussing, they're discussing. Enforcement, piping plumbers, you know. It was a very nice evening, they did recognize that we were there.
Nice.
So, yeah, it was a good,
Thanks for coming.
yeah, it was fun, They, as I was leaving, they were asking me about our shellfish bags, because they're curious, they're contemplating initiating that into their program in Southampton, and the clam contest, they want some information on that, so they might initiate one over there. I thought maybe what I'll do, take over what?
No.
Okay, I would like to take them a t-shirt if no one objects.
No, that's fine.
That's fine.
I'll go take them a copy of our rules and regs and our t-shirt and
And a
say.
bag.
Why don't you give them
I
5?
gave them that already,
Okay.
yeah,
Why don't you give
yeah.
them 5 t-shirts?
Yeah, okay, one for each.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
don't give away clam yet.
No. Okay,
Clam yet's there.
okay,
Just say to decide
Yep.
based upon his own.
yeah,
Lori's got a pass on.
yeah. I have, John Courtney's been reviewing those legal bills from David Egan. I think we have it all straightened out, that we can pay them, without, you know, we've got the numbers figured out.
Yeah, and if you need me to tell you the breakdown, I'll tell you who's what,
Do you wanna do that now or at our next meeting?
whatever you want.
Okay, if we have it, let's get it done, so we get the
Sure.
man paid. Yep,
I have the bill.
okay, and then,
I believe I do. I thought that,
okay,
I was looking for.
Okay.
There it is.
while he's looking, yep,
I think we can take the latest bill, I don't think we have to take the earlier one, because I
oh,
believe it's
all
included in the
rolled
latest.
in? Oh, okay,
You
good,
know?
good, okay.
Okay,
Yep.
Young Lemieux is $525.
Okay,
Clementi is
I hope so.
$1,137.50. I looked through that, all the times look right, everything looks right that they've done, there's a whole bunch of papers here. And Zweig is, let me see here. 7,500, 8106.23. 7,500 plus 606.23.
okay,
You had a previous balance of 3625.82. They received a check of 2618.85. Adding and subtracting those items, the amount due them is $9,113.
9,000,
113 on the head.
okay.
They did an adjustment.
Oh, that's for all three?
That's for all three.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
right.
three. Okay, all right. But for our purposes, we would write one check for $525 for the young issue.
Each case separate.
Each one, if you
separate?
can write them separate,
Yeah.
or, I mean, do you have
Yeah.
Quicken? Do you use Quicken? Because you can write one check.
QuickBooks.
QuickBooks?
Yeah.
Well, you can write one
Yeah.
check and split it into 3 separate categories. Legal fee 4, and then in the memos, I'll show you how you do it.
Yeah, okay.
I do it all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The technology.
Well, no, that I know because I'm the treasurer in a lot of organizations, fire departments, and benevolent, you know, and I have to write checks.
That's why you dress.
Okay, so we will make sure that the record shows that it's 3 different cases, but the grand
Yeah,
total
yeah.
is $9,113 even to be paid to McLaughlin and Egan
Yeah.
for legal fees.
I have
Okay.
a quick question.
Okay.
Going forward, who decides who we're gonna use in terms of the attorney?
We do.
We do as a board?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, so can I make a motion to expend those monies to pay those legal fees?
I'll make a motion.
You make a motion, we have a second?
Second.
Second, double second. All's in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I know it's getting late. The last thing I was just gonna bring up was the clam contest for us this year. Having had it brought to my attention Friday night. Montauk Big Bucks is being held on September 20th. We usually like to go after that date. I did, just for the fun of it, print out these tide tables if you want. The weeks are there and here around, and so we should get a date chosen pretty soon.
Yeah.
What was the name of their thing? I'm sorry.
September 20th.
It's usually a Sunday, right? Do we do it or Saturday?
We do Sunday.
September
Sunday, what's the
20th?
last Sunday in September?
September 27th.
27th,
Let's do it then.
yep.
Does that work for
Here's a calendar.
Let's do it then. Let's do it then.
How are the tides staying?
Does that work?
What is-
Well, the tides doesn't have to be for that day.
I know, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
be, I know, but I just thought I would.
Sure.
Just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. This, it would be this one, right, no, that's 20, 21, 22, 23, 26. And that's, I don't have it here, I skipped the 27.
Well,
I went the
26.
week of the,
27th to be the
Go
day.
figure.
I can pull it up.
Yeah, just an hour.
yeah, an hour different, right?
Low tides
Yeah.
at 3 o'clock in 3 Mile Harbor that afternoon.
September 22nd, you said?
7. So
Yeah,
that would seem
27.
appropriate the week ahead of that? Yeah, the week ahead of that,
The
right?
Saturday before that?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
enough time in every, yeah.
Okay, there's enough time in every day, okay.
It should be
Well,
there
that-
for people.
That's fine with me, if that's fine with everybody else. I'll
Okay.
start the mass gathering permit process, and we'll make lists of tasks that need to be done and supplies that need to be gotten.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, what needs to be
and
finished.
ads to be done, and, okay, but if everyone's
Teacher.
agreeable, the 27th seems like a good time,
Yep.
okay? September 27th it is then.
Do you want that on
Yep.
the website?
Yeah, we can start now. Sure, we can
Why
let
not?
people know, why not?
Maybe
Yeah.
a call for
Better start planning.
donations for
Yeah.
the baskets and stuff?
Oh, that would be fabulous.
You know,
That
so-
would be fabulous, yeah. That saves a lot of legwork.
Well, you're
Yeah.
on television, Diane.
Oh.
Go for it.
Yes,
Well, we'll
the
probably still have
trustees
to.
clam contest, the prizes that we give out, we do purchase the baskets, but other than that, we do rely upon the generous donations of our
Right.
local
Yeah.
merchants, and, yeah, so anyone who would like to donate.
Anything from a pizza pie, a
Pizza pie,
book,
ice
or-
cream, dinners.
Anything.
Yeah.
Anything you're willing to give
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
is greatly
Yeah.
appreciated.
yeah.
Goes
Gift
right in those
certificates.
baskets to
Yes.
the clammers.
Mhm.
To the clammers, yep, and there's a winner from each harbor in the adult category, and a winner in the junior category, and then an overall winner. And then we do the chowder. We will have, both a red and a white to be tasted, for $1, you can enter your clam chowder to be tested, and we also give away prizes to them.
Mhm.
Generally, it's a clam rake that a local merchant generally donates to us, which is nice, yeah. Okay.
Good job.
Okay, that's
job.
that. Correspondence, you can see we have 4 items here that are generally just informational that have been provided to the board, that don't require action on our part, but they are here for anybody to look at. And with that, I believe that's all I have for the agenda. If no one has anything additional, I do believe that our attorney needs to just talk with us in executive session.
Just briefly.
Briefly in executive session. So with that being said, we'll ask our little LTV man to turn off the.
We're adjourning to
We're
executive
adjourning to
session
executive
for.
session.
To discuss the CBO.
Second.
Yeah, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passing carried, and that's at 8:29 PM. Okay.
Whew.